From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 851, Bathroom Incident. Fuck, you fat guy. Dare to bully my girlfriend. I'll beat you to death. The young man was Ma Fei. He was not Ting Ting's boyfriend yet, but just a sweeter. Seeing Ting Ting being bullied, he immediately got angry and punched and kicked the fat middle-aged man lying on the ground. The fat middle-aged man had long been drained of his body by alcohol and sex. He couldn't even resist now. He didn't have the strength. He could only roll around on the ground with his head in his hands. He was sweating all over. Ma Fei stopped at Ting Ting's stop. He was not satisfied and spat at the fat middle-aged man on the ground again. Boy, if you have the guts, sign up. I'll kill you. The fat middle-aged man's nose was bleeding, and he covered his nose and said in a cold voice, "Ha ha ha, there are many people who want to kill me. Who do you think you are? My name is Ma Fei. Listen carefully. Remember your uncle. I'm among the princes inside. Come if you have the guts." Ma Fei laughed and said disdainfully, "His group of people are not ordinary people who doesn't have a certain background. How can you, a fat guy, mess with us?" Ting Ting still held Ma Fei's hand with lingering fear, as if this could bring her a little sense of security. Ma Fei was very happy and even fortunate to have this fat guy. Otherwise the progress between him and Ting Ting would not be so fast now, and the beating just now also vented all his anger. Don't mention how good it is now. Seeing the two people coming back, everyone complained why they were gone for so long, but seeing Ting Ting's frightened look, they were all very strange. "What's wrong with Ting Ting? Did Ma Fei bully you? Why are you?" I asked while pulling Ting Ting. "It's not me who bullied Ting Ting, it's a fat guy," Ma Fei said aggrievedly, and told him everything that happened just now, especially the part about how he beat up the fat guy. It was very satisfying to think about it. "Okay, brother Ma, I didn't expect you to be so good at fighting," a girl praised. "Ma Fei, have you practiced something recently? You are quite skilled." Shen Zhao also joked with a smile. "Haha, no. What do you need to practice to beat this kind of fat guy? I can beat him to pieces with radio gymnastics," Ma Fei said proudly. "Then will they come to make trouble?" Xia Bing said with a frown. "What are you afraid of? There are so many of us who doesn't have a background." "Oh, no, except that brother." Ma Fei pointed at Su Weifeng and his eyes were full of disdain. "That fat guy dares to touch us, even if he has a little background, and we still have young Master Shen. Even Sister Chen has to give young Master Shen face. What can a fat guy do to us?" Ma Fei said proudly. "Don't worry, it's okay, I'm here. Let's see who dares to mess with my classmates in this Emperor KTV." After being told this by Ma Fei, Shen Zhao also had face and immediately said it proudly. Su Weifeng could see that this was a group of arrogant rich second generations who grew up with a silver spoon in their mouths and had not suffered any setbacks. Just looking at Ma Fei's arrogant look, Su Weifeng had a bad premonition that something should happen today, otherwise he would be sorry for his face that deserved a beating. "Xia King, let's go back. It's so late. Your grandfather should be worried." Su Weifeng didn't want to meddle in their business and wanted to take Xia King away first. As long as Xia King was fine, his mission would be successfully completed. "What time do we have to leave? It's just getting dark, and Ruru's birthday party hasn't started yet." Xia King said dissatisfiedly and was disgusted with this liar sent by her grandfather, and now he came to meddle with her. "That's right, who are you? And you still come to meddle with our King? Why are you?" I glared at Su Weifeng, feeling very unhappy. This loser wanted to take her best friend away. How despicable. "Boy, if you want to leave, just go by yourself. No one will stop you." Shen Zhao also said coldly. "I can't leave. I still have to celebrate our Uru's birthday. If you want to leave, you go first and go back and tell my grandfather." King said to Su Weifeng. "Anyway, tonight is not pleasant. It's all because of this man. It's better to let him go so that everyone can have fun." Su Weifeng shook his head. He promised Mr. Han that he couldn't give up halfway, so he had to accompany Xia King here. In the emperor's room, a middle-aged man in black linen clothes was sitting on the sofa with his eyes closed, with a huge Buddhist bead hanging around his neck and a folding fan in his hand. He looked a bit elegant, but when he opened his eyes, his aura changed drastically. A domineering aura emanated from his body, and the black-clad bodyguards standing behind him didn't dare to look at him. Beside him sat 5 or 6 girls in revealing clothes. They were not very old, but all of them were beauties. If they were put in an ordinary school, they would be school beauties. This person was Xiang Yi, the Beast King Wang Xiang. At this moment, he was frowning at the dark and fat middle-aged man who had just come in from the door. "Heeper, what's the matter? How did you get a bruised face after going to the bathroom?" said Xiang Yi, frowning. The nickname of this dark fat middle-aged man is really Heepang, and the name really suits him. "Xiang Yi, I got beaten up. I saw a beautiful woman in the bathroom, touched her and was beaten up like this by her boyfriend," Heepang said to Xiang Yi with a look of grievance. "You have been in there for a long time. A young man can beat you up like this. And your claws are also bad. You touch people randomly in my place. Aren't you afraid of affecting my business?" Xiang Yi said coldly. The dark fat middle-aged man was scolded by Xiang Yi and didn't dare to say anything. He was Xiang Yi's younger brother. He took the blame for Xiang Yi a few years ago and stayed in prison for a few years. He just got out today and Xiang Yi was welcoming him. "Haven't I seen a female for several years? I couldn't help but touch the girl because she was too beautiful," Heepang said cautiously. "Haha, I forgot about this. It's true. Now you think all Saos are beauties." Uncle Xiang laughed. The other people in the room also laughed, and Heepang felt a little embarrassed. "Where is the guy who beat you from? I will avenge you." Uncle Xiang's voice became a little cold. No matter whether it was Heepang's fault or not, beating his own people was looking for trouble. Looking for trouble on his own territory was just looking for death. "His name is Ma Fei, and he is among the princes," Heepang said after thinking for a while. "Aheo, go and bring the people here, the one named Ma Fei and Ting Ting," Uncle Xiang said to a young man behind him who was dressed in burly clothes, had a shaved head and a full back of tattoos. "Don't worry, Uncle Xiang, I will bring them back to you right away," the bald man said. He is Uncle Xiang's number 1 thug, a death row prisoner that Uncle Xiang rescued from the local prison. He used to be a mercenary and his kung fu was amazing. After following Uncle Xiang, he fought for Uncle Xiang and was his most capable general. Chapter 852 Xiang Yi. King and her classmates were getting dressed and packing up to leave when the door of the private room was kicked open. A burly man with tattoos came in, followed by 2 men in black, who looked like bodyguards or thugs. "Who is Ma Fei?" Aheo shouted, scanning the people in the private room. "I'm Ma Fei, what do you do?" Ma Fei sneered and stood up, without any fear. With only 2 or 3 people in his room, what could he do to him? Su Weifeng carefully looked at the burly man with tattoos. He could tell from his walking style and muscle contours that this man had real kung fu and must have killed people and fought in the battlefield. He sighed that today, these rich second generations who didn't know their place were in trouble. "Who is Ting Ting?" Aheo said coldly again. "I'm Ting Ting." Ting Ting said behind Ma Fei with some fear. "Very good, you two come with me. Master Xiang wants to see you." Aheo said coldly, expressionless as if he was reading an imperial decree. "What Master Xiang? I don't know him." Ma Fei said disdainfully. "It doesn't matter, if you don't know him, you will know him soon." Aheo looked at Ma Fei with ill intentions. "Take them away." Aheo shouted at the 2 people behind him. 2 black-clad bodyguards came over to catch Ma Fei and Ting Ting screamed in fear and hid desperately. "Do you know who I am? Dare to touch us here, are you looking for death?" Ma Fei shouted loudly. He also saw that Aheo was not easy to mess with. He was definitely not his opponent, but he was not alone. He was a group of people. As soon as Ma Fei finished speaking, the young people in the room picked up the wine bottles, pointed at Aheo and the other 2, and cursed at the same time. "Wait." When the battle was about to break out, Shen Zhao stood up and stopped everyone. "Excuse me, which Xiang Yi is it?" Shen Zhao said with some trepidation. There are many Xiang Yi, but the one called Xiang Yi in this Emperor KTV reminded him of someone. However, it was just a flash of thought, and he did not dare to continue thinking about it. If he thought about it, he would be afraid. What's wrong with you, Mr. Shen? Ma Fei and others were also stunned. Shouldn't this be the time to unite against the outside world? Why did Mr. Shen become cowardly and talk to the other party in a friendly manner? Who else dares to call Xiang Yi an Emperor KTV? Ah Heo looked at Shen Zhao coldly and full of amusement. He did not answer his question but asked back. Ah! Shen Zhao exclaimed, and his heart was shocked. The worst lot was drawn. It seemed that it was really the boss behind the Emperor. Seeing Shen Zhao's reaction, other students also felt bad. Suddenly, they thought of the person Ma Fei had just talked about. The boss behind this KTV, the boss of Chinatown, was called Xiang Yi. Could it be such a coincidence that they ran into him? This luck is too good. Ma Fei also recovered at this time and seemed to know that he had caused trouble, a huge trouble. The resentment just now had disappeared long ago, and his face was full of horror. He looked at Shen Zhao for help. Among their group of people, Shen Zhao's family had the strongest background. He believed that, if he came forward, Xiang Yi might give him some face. Other classmates also regarded Shen Zhao as a life-saving straw. After all, Xiang Jie's woman had just come to toast Shen Zhao. Shen Zhao should be able to save Ma Fei. Shen Zhao felt everyone's gaze, but he secretly complained in his heart. With his status, he had no qualifications to see Xiang Jie. Whether Xiang Jie would sell his face or not, he really had no confidence at all. But seeing that his classmates were looking at him expectantly, he knew that, if he didn't come forward this time, the prestige he had created before would be gone, so he could only grit his teeth and go ahead. I'll go with you, and we'll ask Xiang Yi for mercy, Shen Zhao said with a frown, and his heart began to beat. Seeing that the gang agreed to meet Xiang Yi, Ah Heo was too lazy to do it himself. It was easier to drive a sheep away than to kill it and then drag it away. Okay, follow me, Ah Heo said, and walked out first. Brother Shen, I'm counting on you. Ma Fei was really scared this time. The person he offended was not an ordinary boss, but a big boss in Chinatown. If he was not careful, his life would be gone. Let's go, Shen Zhao said in a low voice. This time he didn't dare to say anything more. His legs were still a little weak. Let's go too. Wang Yui pulled Xiaoqing and Xiabing and said. She was worried about Shen Zhao and didn't dare to go by herself. Xiaoqing and Xiabing looked at each other and agreed to go with them. After all, there is strength in numbers. Xiang Yi might have to be a little cautious when facing so many classmates with family backgrounds. Su Weifeng saw Xiaoqing and Xiabing followed them and smiled bitterly. It was not easy to be a follower, so he had to get up and follow them out. The other people in the private room were embarrassed to hide here, so they all got up and followed Shen Zhao and the others. When they arrived at the door of the Emperor's Hall, Ah Heo knocked on the door and went in. Master Xiang, the people are here, Ah Heo said to Master Xiang, and he had completed his mission. Master Xiang saw so many people coming in, frowned, and looked at Ah Heo with some displeasure. Didn't I ask you to bring two? Ah Heo looked at Master Xiang with some embarrassment. He thought that, as long as that boy followed Ma Fei and Ting Ting, Master Xiang would not care about one more person to intercede. But why did all of them come? It was too late for him to notice. Although most of them were in the corridor and did not come in, there were still quite a few who came in. Ma Fei and Ting Ting, the two protagonists, and Shen Zhao stood in the front. Wang Yui, Xiaoqing, and Xiabing were in the middle. Su Weifeng stood behind Xiaoqing and Xiabing, and the rest of the students were watching in the corridor and did not dare to come in. Hello, Master Xiang. Shen Zhao knew who was the protagonist as soon as he entered the room and hurriedly saluted respectfully. Hello, Master Xiang. Seeing Shen Zhao's low attitude, Ma Fei and Ting Ting hurriedly followed suit. Well, who have you beat, my brother? Master Xiang had a gloomy face, and a powerful aura came over him. Master Xiang pointed at the fat black man and said, the man's nose and face were now swollen, and his fat head looked more like a pig's head. Su Weifeng almost laughed when he saw it. He didn't expect that Ma Fei was so ruthless. Ma Fei was so scared by this shout that his legs went weak and he tried hard not to kneel down, but now he didn't dare to admit it and looked at Shen Zhao for help. Shen Zhao secretly hated it. Ma Fei could have offended anyone else, but he had to offend the person who should not be offended here. But he still had to bite the bullet because he was the leader of this group of people. Master Xiang, I'm Shen Zhao, the son of Shen Pengfei. Do you think it's okay? Shen Zhao said with a trembling voice. But before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Xiang Yi. I know Shen Pengfei, the one who runs the hotel, Xiang Yi said. Seeing that Xiang Yi knew his father, Shen Zhao was overjoyed, and there was a way. I know it wasn't you who beat my brother, it was this guy called Ma Fei, right? Xiang Yi was a man who had seen everything. As soon as a few people came in, he understood what was going on. From the degree of leg shaking, he knew who was the real culprit, and pointed at Ma Fei and said, Xiang Yi, for the sake of my father, please spare Ma Fei. Your brother's medical expenses and mental damages will all be borne by Ma Fei. Do you think it's okay? Shen Zhao asked tentatively, feeling uneasy. Then I'll give Shen Pengfei a favor. You can take these people away, but Ma Fei and his girlfriend can't leave. My brother hasn't gotten his revenge yet. Xiang Yi narrowed his eyes and looked at Shen Zhao. Shen Zhao wanted to beg for mercy, but seeing that Xiang Yi's eyes were getting colder and colder, he didn't dare to say anything. Boy, you are awesome. Can I take care of you today? The dark fat middle-aged man stood up and walked to Ma Fei, kicking him to the ground. Brother, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was wrong. Ma Fei begged for mercy loudly. Chapter 853 Su Weifeng comes forward. Little bitch, you are still pretending to be noble. I'll let you pretend. Today I'll let you taste the power of fatty. The dark fat middle-aged man turned his eyes to Ting Ting, his eyes full of desire, and walked towards Ting Ting with a lewd smile. Don't come over. Don't come over. Ma Fei, save me. Ting Ting shouted while shrinking back in fear. Ma Fei watched the dark fat middle-aged man grab Ting Ting's chest, gritted his teeth, but never dared to speak. He was pursuing Ting Ting, but in front of this Xiang Yi, he didn't even have the courage to protect Ting Ting. Before the dark fat middle-aged man caught Ting Ting, two long legs were raised at the same time and kicked the dark fat middle-aged man's chest hard, knocking him to the ground. It was Xia King and Xia Bing who attacked at the same time. Both girls have kung fu. Although they can't compare with Su Weifeng, it's still easy for ordinary people like this. The dark fat middle-aged man fell to the ground and cried out in pain. He was really depressed today. He was beaten up by Ma Fei as soon as he came out. He was arrogant for a while, but was put down again for no reason. When Xiang Yi saw that his people were beaten again, and they were beaten in front of him, he was furious. He looked at Xiao King and Xia Bing coldly. He didn't notice them just now, but now he found that they were two beautiful women. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. The two beauties are good at fighting, but they beat my people in front of me. Don't you think too much of me? Xiang Yi said in a bad tone. Xiang Yi, Ting Ting is our classmate. You can beat Ma Fei, but you can't bully Ting Ting. Xia Bing said with a cold face. What qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? If you can't bully Ting Ting, then bully you. These two beauties are good, one ice and one fire. Today I will taste the feeling of ice and fire. Ha 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 ha. Xiang Yi laughed loudly. There is no woman that Xiang Yi has taken a fancy to that he can't get. You, shameless. Xia King was angry, but she was also very afraid of Xiang Yi. By the way, that one is not bad either. Xiang Yi pointed at Wang Yui and said, how could he not eat this beautiful woman who came to his door? Shen Zhao saw Xiang Yi staring at his girlfriend, and his heart tightened, and he hurried out. Xiang Yi, this is my girlfriend, and these two are also my girlfriend's best friends. Please let them go. Let me toast Xiang Yi. Shen Zhao said hurriedly. Humph, who do you think you are? I'm just letting you go for your dad's sake. Now get out of here. Xiang Yi looked at Shen Zhao with disdain, and said in a cold voice. Shen Zhao stood there, feeling that his whole body was petrified. He didn't expect Xiang Yi to tear his face directly. He stood there with a blank mind, not knowing what to do. He asked him to protect Wang Yui, but he didn't have the strength to do so. He was panicked. Catch all of them, drive the rest out, and cripple those who don't listen, and throw them into the trash can at the back door. Xiang Yi said loudly. These black-clad thugs rushed up while yelling. Shen Zhao was even more frightened, and subconsciously retreated to the door. He wanted to pull his girlfriend Wang Yui, but was kicked out of the door by the black-clad man at the door. He rolled on the ground, and stood up with the help of his classmates. Wang Yui also wanted to run out, but was grabbed by a black-clad bodyguard. No matter how she struggled, she couldn't get away. She was just an ordinary girl, but she didn't have the kung fu of Xia King and Xia Bing. Wang Yui shouted desperately, and stretched out her hand to grab Shen Zhao outside the door, but Shen Zhao didn't dare to enter the room again. He stared at his girlfriend with his eyes wide open, thinking of her miserable end. Su Weifeng didn't move, just stood at the door and watched quietly. Xia Bing and Xia King were fighting with these bodyguards. Their long legs flying in the air were quite pleasing to the eye. However, although the two girls had kung fu, they could still fight these bodyguards alone, but they couldn't deal with so many people, and were soon controlled by others. You beast, let me go, let me go. Xia King struggled desperately, but she was still inferior to these bodyguards in pure strength. Xia Bing bit her lip, and didn't say anything, but she was obviously afraid. Go, give this to them, is this the way to have fun? Xiang Yi said to the people around him with a lewd smile, and took out 4 small pills. At this time, there was Ma Fei lying under someone's feet in the room, and Ting Ting and other 4 girls who were controlled, and Su Weifeng standing against the wall at the door. At this time, Xiang Yi noticed that there was still one person who had not been driven out of the door. Su Weifeng had not spoken, or made any movements, since he came in, so everyone ignored him. What are you doing here? Get out. Xiang Yi shouted at Su Weifeng. Is the play over? The script is really bad. Su Weifeng shook his head and said disdainfully, and walked a few steps to Xia King and Xia Bing, and slapped the black-clad bodyguards who controlled them. Xia Bing looked at Su Weifeng in surprise. She didn't expect him to dare to show up at this time. He was a new outsider in Galan. If Xiang Yi said to kill him, he would be killed. She was worried about him secretly. Xia King didn't expect Su Weifeng to be so powerful. She was under control, but this guy just slapped the person who controlled her with a few slaps, just like an adult beating a child. The black-clad bodyguards didn't have a chance to resist. Xiang Yi was furious. What happened today? Someone challenged his majesty again and again, and beat his men in front of him. Could it be that he was too kind now, and these people were not afraid of him anymore? Catch him for me. No, cripple him for me. Xiang Yi said angrily. These black-clad bodyguards were ready to take action without waiting for Xiang Yi to speak. They rushed towards Su Weifeng one after another. However, Su Weifeng was not Xia King and Xia Bing. He couldn't be dealt with by a large number of people. In less than 10 seconds, there were already a lot of black-clad people lying on the ground, and they couldn't stand up for a while. What? Xiang Yi stood up in surprise. There were more than a dozen well-trained bodyguards. To be Xiang Yi's personal bodyguards, they must be very skilled. But how could such a group of masters be knocked down in 10 seconds? Ah hey oh. Xiang Yi said fiercely. The tattooed bald southerner behind Xiang Yi finally came out. He was Xiang Yi's personal bodyguard and the first fighter. Wherever Xiang Yi was, there was Ah hey oh. Ah hey oh didn't have to take action for ordinary things. Only when he encountered a tough guy, Ah hey oh would personally take action to solve the problem. Ah hey oh also saw that Su Weifeng was extraordinary. Ah hey oh estimated that he could also solve these black-clad bodyguards by himself, but he would definitely not kill them all in seconds as easily as Su Weifeng. However, he was not afraid, but was full of fighting spirit. Boy, you are quite skilled. I'm surprised that there is such a good fighter among these students. But it's a pity that you met me. Ah hey oh stared at Su Weifeng. Chapter 854. Do you dare to shoot? Seeing Ah hey oh coming out, Xiang Yi sat down with a grim smile. Today, this kid seriously challenged his majesty. He must kill the chicken to scare the monkeys and destroy him. Otherwise, with a precedent, there will definitely be people jumping out one after another. Such a thing must not be allowed to happen. Ah hey oh is the most powerful general under his command. As long as Ah hey oh takes action, there is no enemy that cannot be solved. After Ah hey oh surrendered to him, He once killed 18 enemy subordinates by himself, which also greatly increased Ah Heo's status and fame. Xiang Yi sat on the sofa with a sneer, hugged a beautiful woman next to him, put his hands on her tender body and kneaded it, looking at the student in front of him with cruel eyes. "Hurry up, I'm in a hurry to go home," Su Weifeng said disdainfully. This Ah Heo looked like a man who had experienced many battles. Su Weifeng could see at a glance that he was a master, but this kind of master was based on the standards of ordinary people. In front of Su Weifeng, how could he be called a master? Ah Heo frowned. He admitted that the young man was a master, but he was actually looked down upon. He could not stand it. He rushed forward quickly and punched Su Weifeng with a heavy punch. This punch was as fast as lightning. Xiang Yi and others could not see the trajectory of this punch. Xia Bing was shocked. It was too late to tell Su Weifeng to be careful. She was also a martial artist, but the speed of Ah Heo's punch was definitely faster than her reaction speed. If it was her, she would not be able to dodge it. Xiao King was also shocked. She had been practicing martial arts with her grandfather since she was a child, and she had some understanding of martial artists. This Ah Heo's skills were something she had never seen before. It could be said that he was the strongest martial artist she had ever seen, except for her grandfather, of course. She had admired her grandfather since she was a child. As soon as the punch was thrown, Ah Heo flew backwards and only slid down slowly after hitting the wall, just like a slow motion shot. Everyone was stunned. They didn't see how Su Weifeng made the move just now, and Ah Heo flew out. For a while, the whole private room was quiet. Xia King and other girls were so shocked that they couldn't recover, but they were ecstatic in an instant. They knew that they seemed to have escaped today. They looked at Su Weifeng with different eyes. How could this liar have such high martial arts skills? "Boy, you are very strong, but no matter how strong you are," Xiang Yi said viciously, but he was a little frightened in his heart. How could this boy be so strong? Ah Heo was defeated in just one encounter. They were not on the same level at all. Then what? Su Weifeng looked at Xiang Yi with interest. Xiang Yi suddenly took out a pistol and pointed it directly at Su Weifeng. "Then I can kill you with one shot," Xiang Yi said with a sneer. "I'll give you a chance. Bow down and admit your mistakes. Do things for me. This is your only chance," Xiang Yi said coldly. Seeing that Ah Heo was not his opponent, Xiang Yi also wanted to conquer him. If this young man and Ah Heo assisted him, his power would surely expand again. He might even be able to fight out of Chinatown. It's a Desert Eagle. The recoil is not small. Su Weifeng saw the model of this large caliber pistol at a glance and couldn't help laughing. This kind of gun looks intimidating, has a great reputation, and is very powerful, but it is not practical in combat. Believe it or not, you're dead the moment you pull the trigger, Su Weifeng said indifferently, looking at Xiang Yi with cold eyes, as if he was looking at a dead person. Xiang Yi has been struggling for so many years, and has gone through countless life and death situations to get to where he is today. He relies more on his eyesight and intuition. He judged from Su Weifeng's eyes and tone that he was telling the truth, and was not bluffing. Although Xiang Yi didn't know why Su Weifeng was so confident in killing him, he still chose to trust his intuition, which allowed him to escape life and death crises many times. Xiang Yi slowly put down his pistol, still looking at Su Weifeng with a cold gaze, feeling very unwilling. "You are smart. You saved a life," Su Weifeng said with a smile. Shen Zhao and his classmates were watching outside the door. Now they were all confused. What was going on? The one who was pointed at by a gun threatened the one holding the gun, and the one holding the gun was Xiang Yi, the boss of Chinatown. The most important thing was that Xiang Yi was actually scared. What was going on? Is the underworld so weak now? Su Weifeng was ready to kill. He didn't like being pointed at by a gun. Those who had pointed a gun at him were all dead. He had just put his hand on his waist and grabbed the handle of the ivory dagger. It was the dagger of the terrorists that he seized on the plane when he came to Galan. He thought that the dagger was very handy in terms of material, workmanship, and sharpness, so he brought it with him. He didn't expect that this Xiang Yi had such a keen sense of crisis that he actually put down his gun, leaving Su Weifeng with no reason to kill him. Su Weifeng couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Seeing Su Weifeng's unhappy look, as if he regretted putting down the gun, Xiang Yi breathed a sigh of relief for no reason, and felt more and more that he had just been through the gates of hell. You are very strong. I can't do anything to you, but now we live in a society ruled by law. I have plenty of ways to deal with you. I can arrest you with just one phone call, or even make you disappear without anyone noticing. And what about your classmates? Can you protect them for a while, or for the rest of your life? Xiang Yi threatened viciously. He thought Su Weifeng was also Xia King's classmate. The smile on Su Weifeng's face disappeared, and in an instant a murderous intent spread to Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi shuddered, feeling like he was being stared at by a beast, as if he would be bitten off the neck by this beast at any time. Xiang Yi unconsciously felt a sense of fear in his heart. Su Weifeng had already had the intention to kill. This man not only threatened him, but also wanted to touch Xia King and Xia Bing. He could ignore others, but he couldn't ignore Xia King and Xia Bing. They were both friends of his. If anything happened because of him, he would definitely blame himself. Although Xiang Yi was somewhat uneasy, he still looked at Su Weifeng in a tit-for-tat manner. If he didn't even dare to say a harsh word and gave in, then his position as the boss of Chinatown would be over. He didn't need to fight for territory with his opponent, and one of his younger brothers would have to jump out and rebel. Boy, if you have the guts, just wait here. Ah Heo can't deal with you, but someone can. Xiang Yi said coldly. Oh, if someone can deal with me, then call him. I want to see what kind of person he is. Su Weifeng couldn't help laughing, and walked to the sofa and sat down. As soon as Su Weifeng came over, several girls immediately ran to the side, leaving only Xiang Yi and Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng casually stretched out on the sofa, very relaxed. Xiang Yi looked at him coldly, and said in his heart, I'll let you be proud for a while, and then see how you die. This kind of person is too arrogant, destined to be useless to me. Then I will make you disappear completely. Chapter 855. Meeting Ajax again. Xiao Yi picked up the phone, and walked out of the private room. Su Weifeng did not stop him, just smiled and looked at him. Su Weifeng knew that this man could not escape, otherwise he would not be the boss of Chinatown. As for who he could find, Su Weifeng did not care at all. Instead of dealing with one today, and another popping up tomorrow, it would be better to deal with them all at once and save trouble. Xia Bing looked at Su Weifeng with a serious expression. After thinking for a while, she walked to Su Weifeng and sat down, whispering, Let's go while Xiang Yi's not here, otherwise we will be in trouble when his people come. Xia Bing said anxiously. Don't worry, it's okay. Su Weifeng said, and patted her leg. Pervert. Xia Bing frowned and pinched Su Weifeng's waist. Su Weifeng reacted, and quickly put his hand back. He really didn't mean it, but now he said it. Would anyone believe it? What time are you two still flirting? Xia King said angrily. She was really scared just now. When she was caught by the black-clad bodyguards, she thought she was done, and could not escape today. Unexpectedly, Su Weifeng showed up halfway and not only dealt with all the thugs, but even Xiang Yi was frightened. But Xia King also knew that Xiang Yi was right. Even if you are strong, what's the use? In today's society, if you have no background and only force, you will still be killed. Xia King was even more angry when she saw Xia Bing and Su Weifeng together. Now Su Weifeng has upgraded. He is not only a liar, but also a disaster star. Xia Bing is still with him. Isn't this looking for death and getting herself into trouble? Xiang Yi went out to make a phone call. Shen Zhao and others outside made way when they saw Xiang Yi coming out. No one dared to block the way of Xiang Yi, who was in anger. Of course, they didn't dare to enter the house. Although there was no danger in the house now, it would not be long before Xiang Yi would bring people back. At that time, everyone in the house would be implicated. It was not easy for everyone not to run away now. Shen Zhao secretly called his girlfriend. Wang Yui finally reacted and ran out tremblingly, hiding behind Shen Zhao. She blamed Shen Zhao for not saving her, although she also knew that Shen Zhao had no way and was no longer devoted to this boyfriend. An irreparable crack had already appeared in her heart. Xia King saw that Su Weifeng had no intention of leaving, and after thinking about it, she sat on the sofa. After all, he followed her. He could have left first just now, but he didn't leave, but stayed. If she left at this time, it would be too disloyal. People who practice martial arts still attach great importance to loyalty. Su Weifeng looked at Xia King in surprise, and then at Xia Bing. He didn't expect that the two girls had the courage to stay. They were almost killed just now. Several people were silent, just sitting quietly, waiting for Xiang Yui to come back. About half an hour later, footsteps were heard outside. The students in the corridor stood in a row against the wall in fear, fearing that they would block the way of the group of people. Xiang Yi was nodding and following a bald man. Obviously, this was the person he was looking for. Master, you are here. This kid is too strong. Even Aheo is not his opponent. Xiang Yi said with lingering fear. Haha, Aheo is really powerful. I'm very interested in who can beat Aheo. Making trouble in my territory is not looking for death. No matter how powerful you are, it will be useless. The bald man said indifferently. A group of people entered the private room under the leadership of the bald man. Xiang Yi pointed at Su Weifeng on the sofa and said, Master, this kid is arrogant because he has some martial arts skills. He doesn't take us seriously at all. Su Weifeng waved at the bald man and greeted him with a smile. Boy, you are still arrogant. You are dead today. I will make you cry in a while. Xiang Yi said viciously. With a snap, a loud slap sounded, and everyone inside and outside the private room was shocked. The bald man didn't hit Su Weifeng, but slapped Xiang Yi. Are you blind? You dare to mess with anyone? This is my brother. The bald man cursed at Xiang Yi. Shenzhou, what's going on? Am I dreaming? The person brought by the Beast King Xiang Yi should be Xiang Yi's boss. Xiang Yi's boss said that this kid is his brother. Xiao King, who is this liar? It turns out that he has been deceiving me all the time. Who is this bald guy? Xiang Yi was beaten and didn't dare to say a word. Xia Bing. It turned out to be Ajax. What is his background? Others don't know this big bald guy, but Xia Bing knows him. Like Su Weifeng, he is also a pervert. He was the one who shouted happily on the plane, thinking of himself, and Su Weifeng going to the bathroom. Ajax and others were making a fuss, and his face couldn't help but appear ruddy. Xiang Yi, what? This kid is your brother? Boss, are you kidding? The skin color is different. Aheo. It's over. I got beaten in vain, but this guy is really strong. Aheo had been helped up by someone, but he felt that his internal organs were still churning, and he dared not move. Sister-in-law, you are here too. I didn't notice it just now. Ajax suddenly found Xia Bing and said again. Xia King widened her eyes and looked at Xia Bing thoughtfully. She felt that something was wrong with you. Sure enough, there was something wrong. The boss of this Xiang guy knew you. How much did you hide from us? Shenzhou and other male classmates were even more surprised. They always felt that Xia Bing and the boy brought by Xia King were flirting with each other. Sure enough, they were having an affair. But this boy was so awesome. He was the brother of the boss of Xiang guy, who dared to mess with his woman. The boys who had been thinking about Xia Bing before all backed off and never dared to hit on her again. Brother, are you still awesome? Ajax looked at the wounded on the ground. There was no need to ask that it was all Su Weifeng who did it. He couldn't help but admire. He knew Su Weifeng was good at fighting on the plane, but he didn't expect him to be so good. After a conversation, Su Weifeng realized that Ajax was not a gangster. Ajax's family was the backer of Xiang Yi. It was because of the Ajax family that Xiang Yi could dominate the East District for so many years. Ajax heard that there was a very capable fighter who even defeated Aheo, so he came to see the excitement. He didn't expect it to be Su Weifeng. What a fate. This kid is my family's subordinate after all. Can you let him go? Ajax pleaded. He knew that Su Weifeng was so powerful that he would not let Xiang Yi go easily. But Xiang Yi was also supported by his family. If he was directly destroyed, it would be a big loss to his family. Since he is your man, I will let it go, but my friends will have to pay some mental damages. Su Weifeng looked at Xiang Yi and said, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 856. Xiang Yi is scared. Su Weifeng may not give face to others, but Ajax still has to give it to him. Last time, when I was in trouble, he called Ajax, and he brought people to the rescue. They were ready to fight if they didn't agree. They were very nice to him. It would be unreasonable if he didn't give him some face. Ajax was very happy to see Su Weifeng giving him face. At the same time, he really admired Su Weifeng's fighting ability. But he felt relieved when he thought that he could even beat King Kong. Xiang Yi, you don't have to be dissatisfied. My brother can even beat King Kong. What are you guys? If it wasn't me who came today, you would be dead. Ajax said to Xiang Yi and Aheo. King Kong? Xiang Yi was a little confused and muttered quietly. He didn't have any impression of this name. Aheo also looked confused. Obviously, he didn't know who he was talking about. Ajax couldn't help but feel annoyed. It was like he told a cold joke, but no one laughed and no one got his point. The King Kong of the Macallan family. Ajax shouted coldly. Ah, that monster. Aheo suddenly understood and shouted subconsciously. He had actually seen King Kong once before. That guy was simply not a human being. He didn't even have the courage to fight him. This young man actually defeated that monster. Thinking of this, Aheo felt comfortable. He was not wronged at all. He even felt a little honored. Having fought with such a strong man was also his record. Xiang Yi was also shocked and opened his mouth wide. Defeating King Kong meant that this person's background was very scary. As long as this person gave a little hint, countless big families would be willing to extend an olive branch. He was a guest of honor that all families dreamed of. He dared to provoke him and wanted to kill him. It was a joke. Even if this person killed him directly, his backer would not make an enemy of him for him, but would instead try to win him over. After figuring out all this, Xiang Yi was even more terrified. He hurriedly apologized to Su Weifeng and the girls, and compensation was even more necessary. Su Weifeng didn't care about these things. Today's matter was finally over, and he had completed his mission. This mission of Mr. Han was really troublesome, and he couldn't agree to it easily next time. This time, Xiang Yi toasted the girls one by one. Ma Fei and Ting Ting were stunned and hadn't recovered yet. This time, it was not Sister Chen who toasted them, but Xiang Yi who toasted and apologized in person. Who could have such treatment? At least the students outside the door didn't have it. Even Shen Zhao had to watch eagerly. He didn't dare to enter this private room casually. The people here were more terrifying than each other, which was beyond his imagination. Ma Fei felt that the beating today was worth it. A beating would make the boss of Chinatown toast and apologize to him. Now he really wanted to take out his mobile phone to record it and go back to show off, but it was just a thought. If he really dared to record it, Xiang Yi would beat him to death. As for the culprit, He Pang, he had just come out today and had been beaten twice. After toasting, Xiang Yi remembered him and took the initiative to give Su Weifeng an explanation. He personally led his group of bodyguards to kick He Pang hard and scolded him while kicking. You are so impatient. You are causing trouble. He Pang really regretted coming out. Now he wants to cry, but has no tears. His face is swollen and he can't speak. Who can bear 3 beatings in one day? He has to stay in the hospital for a while after coming out. Ajax didn't finish his work, so he didn't stay for long. He said goodbye to Su Weifeng and Xiaobing and left. Xiang Yi and others had already left. At this time, the classmates entered the private room, but everyone was a little embarrassed when they met. They didn't know what to say, especially Shen Zhao. He just pretended to be something, thinking how much face he had here, and now he was severely embarrassed, especially when facing Su Weifeng. His legs trembled unconsciously. Thinking of the things that started to target Su Weifeng, he was terrified and afraid that Su Weifeng would not let him go. But Shen Zhao obviously overthinks. How can Su Weifeng care about a small person like him? He will soon even forget his name. So many things happened, and the classmates were very awkward. Originally, everyone thought they were great, but when they encountered such things, they all became scared and embarrassed to stay here. They all found excuses to leave, such as 5 people with diarrhea, 6 people whose dogs were about to give birth to puppies, and several people who had to go home to collect clothes because it was raining. Wang Yui's birthday party ended before it even started. I guess she had to go home and hide in the quilt to cry. I'm afraid she will never forget the shock today. Su Weifeng and Xia King returned to Mr. Han's villa together, which was also considered to be a task. Mr. Han was a little surprised to see Xia King come back so early. He thought Xia King and the others would be crazy until midnight, but he didn't expect them to come back to see him just after dark. Just when he was about to praise her, he found that Xia King was not right. A girl who was usually very active, why was she so depressed today and looked like she had a lot on her mind? Old Han asked Xia King what happened. When asked by her family, all the fear and grievance in her heart burst out. She threw herself into Old Han's arms and started crying. Old Han was also panicked, thinking that something had happened to his precious granddaughter. Xia King cried and told the story of what happened, how Su Weifeng saved them, etc. When talking about Su Weifeng, Xia King unconsciously looked at Su Weifeng secretly and suddenly felt that this liar was not so hateful. I didn't expect Mr. Su to know Ajax. I'm so disrespectful, Old Han said, and the name changed. Originally, he only knew that Su Weifeng was a master of internal martial arts. Now it seems that it is far more than that. The Deren family is a family in Madagascar, which is much stronger than these families in Galan. The background of this young man is too strong, and Old Han, dare not be arrogant. Old Han is joking. Ajax and I met by chance. I have nothing to do with the Deren family. I don't want to be associated with any family, Su Weifeng said casually. Seeing that Su Weifeng's expression was not fake, but he really didn't care about it, Old Han had a higher opinion of Su Weifeng. There are too few people who can resist the temptation of power and money, and there is one in front of him. He couldn't help but secretly look at his granddaughter. Xia King has always been by her grandfather's side and knows her grandfather too well. She also found that her grandfather was peeking at her. Xia King immediately guessed her grandfather's thoughts. Grandpa wanted to match her with this liar again. He shouldn't be called a liar now. This feeling is weird. Su Weifeng is different from the boys in her school. He always looks calm, which makes her curious unconsciously. Mr. Su, don't go back today. Stay here for one night. It will be convenient for me to treat it tomorrow, Old Han said enthusiastically. Chapter 857 Not going home tonight. Su Weifeng thought about it and agreed. He would get up early tomorrow morning to treat Mr. Han's injuries, and he would not have to go back and forth, so he agreed. After eating and drinking, Mr. Han left on the pretext that he was old and needed to go to bed early, leaving Xia King and Su Weifeng in the living room, obviously to create opportunities for them. Su Weifeng looked at his phone and didn't feel anything. Xia King was on pins and needles, inexplicably nervous. Why did she feel like she was on a legendary blind date? Secretly glanced at Su Weifeng and found that he was looking at his phone, looking at it intently. Xia King gritted her teeth, really wanted to beat him up. The beauty is right next to me, but he doesn't chat with her and plays with his phone. Am I so unattractive? Hey, what is your relationship with Xia Bing? Xia King suddenly asked. Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. Xia Bing and I have nothing to do with each other, Su Weifeng said casually. Why do you always ask me about Xia Bing and me? You don't have any ideas, do you? Su Weifeng joked. You're dreaming. Don't think of me, Xia King said angrily. She didn't know what was wrong with her. She got angry when she saw Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng got up and went back to his guest room. He washed up and lay on the bed. He was going to practice by the river tonight, but he had to heal Han Leo tomorrow. He would not go out today and have a good sleep here. Suddenly he remembered that he hadn't told Chu Xiao2 yet, so he called her. Hello, Xiao2. Su Weifeng's phone was connected. What's wrong with the boss? Are you coming to the bar? Chu Xiao2 asked in confusion. Didn't you say you wouldn't come today? No, I have something to do tonight and I won't go home. You don't have to wait for me when you go back, Su Weifeng said. Maybe they had developed a habit of being together every day. He subconsciously wanted to tell Chu Xiao2 if he didn't go back today. Where did you go again? Chu Xiao2 said angrily. Su Weifeng felt that Chu Xiao2 was angry and was a little puzzled. He didn't provoke her. I have to see an old man tomorrow, so I'll stay at his place tonight. I'll go back after the treatment tomorrow. Su Weifeng said. These were all small matters, and there was nothing to hide. Okay. Chu Xiaotu hung up the phone after saying that, and her angry look was discovered by Mo Fei. What's wrong, boss lady? Is the boss out fooling around again? Mo Fei joked. How did you know? Chu Xiaotu said subconsciously, and she didn't realize that Mo Fei had seen her phone call just now. What fooling around? What does he have to do with me? He said he won't go home today. Chu Xiaotu still said angrily. You still said it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, do I need to tell you? If he doesn't go home? Mo Fei said with a smile. Chu Xiaotu's heart moved when she heard it. It seemed to be the case. If he didn't care about me, why would he tell me? Thinking of this, her anger subsided, and her heart was warm, and her mood improved. Mo Fei couldn't help shaking her head when she saw Chu Xiaotu's expression. It was a typical look of a young girl who had just fallen in love, worried about gains and losses. Although Boss Su was a good person, according to her experience, he was definitely not an ordinary person, let alone someone that an ordinary little girl could control. She was really afraid that Chu Xiaotu, such a simple girl, would fall into it. After Chu Xiaotu figured it out, she jumped up and down to serve wine to the guests. Su Weifeng lay on the bed and tried to use the body refining technique, but the body refining technique he got was incomplete. The part he got had been practiced to perfection, and he had successfully cultivated true Qi. Moreover, the amount of true Qi had reached saturation, and he didn't know how to develop next. The possibility of finding another part of the body refining technique was infinitely close to zero. Where could he find another white bear? Even if he had a white bear, it would be impossible for him to have a body refining technique. It was not such a coincidence. Now he could only start with the purple true Qi to see if he could make his true Qi go further. The next morning, Su Weifeng got up early, washed up, and came to the restaurant. Han Leo and Xia King were already waiting for him there. Old Han and Xia King are up so early? Su Weifeng said a little embarrassedly. He felt a little bad for making an old man wait for him. It's still early. Grandpa and I are back from practicing. Xia King snorted. We didn't call you because we didn't want to disturb Mr. Su's rest. You're used to getting up at this time every day. Old Han said with a smile. Su Weifeng couldn't help but admire the old and the young. After he came back to recuperate, he rarely got up early. Unless there were special circumstances, he would sleep until he woke up naturally every day. Especially when he was with Lin Xuanxun, the two of them got up even later. Thinking of Lin Xuanxun, Su Weifeng knew that he hadn't called her for a long time. Since he was on a mission, Su Weifeng was afraid of unexpected situations, so he didn't contact anyone. He just told everyone that he was going on a business trip abroad, and it would take longer. Except for a few people like Lin Xuanxun, even his parents didn't know the real situation. I wonder what Xuanxun and the others are doing now. Xuanxun won't cry every day, right? Thinking about it, I feel a little uncomfortable. Su Weifeng then feels that this mission is different from the previous ones. In the past, he never thought about other things when he was on a mission. Even if something happened to him, the troops would take care of his parents and would not let the soldiers have any worries. But now it's different. Now he has a girlfriend and a wife, and he has more concerns. It's not a good thing to have concerns during a mission. Su Weifeng controlled himself not to think about these things. Soon his demeanor returned to normal, and his eyes became clear. What are you thinking about, Mr. Su? So absorbed. Han Leo smiled while eating breakfast. Nothing. I've been out for a long time and I think about things at home. Su Weifeng smiled. Hearing about home, Han Leo's eyes lit up. He knew that Su Weifeng's identity was not simple, but he didn't know which family he was from. He wanted to ask, but he remembered that he had asked Su Weifeng about the inheritance of the internal boxing before, and Su Weifeng was obviously unwilling to say. This made him guess that this young man might be from some hidden family. If so, of course he wouldn't talk about his family background. Su Weifeng's words also stopped abruptly, and he did not continue. Although old Han was unwilling in his heart, he was also tactful and did not ask. The existence of many hidden families is a secret in itself, and it is normal that the news cannot be revealed. Soon Su Weifeng and his friends finished breakfast. Old Han, you can just lie down on the sofa. I will check your body first. Su Weifeng stood up and said. Treatment now? Old Han did not expect Su Weifeng to start treatment so soon. Mr. Su, don't worry, just rest for a while before treatment. Old Han said. He felt a little sorry for asking someone to treat him just after breakfast, although he was more anxious than anyone else. It doesn't matter. I also want to see how serious old Han's injury is. I just checked it briefly that day, and the situation may not be accurate. Su Weifeng said seriously. He wanted to finish examining old Han quickly, so that he could leave. Then I'll trouble you, Mr. Su, Han said politely. He was also anxious after hearing what Su Weifeng said. His condition might be more complicated. In that case, Mr. Su might not be able to treat him. He quickly lay down on the sofa and waited for Su Weifeng to check him. Han, you have to take off your shirt, Su Weifeng said with a smile. He would need to use silver needles later, and he couldn't do it with clothes on. Han took off his shirt in a few strokes. At this time, let alone taking off his shirt, it would be no problem for him to take off his pants. Chapter 858 Can I Still Heal? Seeing her grandfather so anxious, Xia King covered her mouth and laughed secretly. Is this still her calm and majestic grandfather? Su Weifeng put his hand on Han Leo's back and probed his ki into his body. Relax, don't use your internal force to block my ki. Su Weifeng frowned. He clearly felt that his ki was blocked. This should be the ki in Han Leo's body subconsciously defending against the invading ki. Han Leo's eyes widened and his muscles tensed up. Don't talk, relax. Su Weifeng frowned, but his heart moved. Han Leo obviously responded to the ki he just mentioned. It is very likely that he knows about ki. This is better. I can find out about the internal force and ki from him. I believe that these families with martial arts heritage will know more. Under Han Leo's intentional control of his internal strength, Su Weifeng's true ki entered Han Leo's body without any hindrance and moved forward bit by bit along the meridians. Now Su Weifeng was already familiar with the subtle control of this true ki and soon found the problem, which was in Han Leo's heart. This surprised Su Weifeng. He originally thought that only that meridian was blocked and it would be easy to treat it. Now he found that it was in the heart, which is the most important internal organ of a person, and he must not be careless at all. Han Leo, do you usually feel any discomfort in your heart? Su Weifeng asked. Sometimes, it is easy to have heart pain during practice, especially when practicing internal strength. It will hurt from time to time. Han Leo had already asked Su Weifeng to treat him, but he was just trying it out, and he didn't have much confidence. He didn't expect that he really found that there was a problem with his heart. Han Leo couldn't help but have more expectations in his heart. Han Leo, your heart meridian is damaged. Fortunately, you are an internal practitioner. If ordinary people's heart meridians were damaged, they would definitely not be in your current state. Su Weifeng said. Human internal organs also represent the 5 elements. The heart belongs to fire, the kidneys belong to water, the liver belongs to wood, the spleen belongs to earth, and the lungs belong to gold. Damage to the heart meridian means that there is a problem with the fire, and the yang energy will be weak, and the whole person will be listless. Fortunately, you have internal strength, which can be regarded as making up for the problem of insufficient yang energy. But there are pros and cons. Your internal strength is getting stronger and stronger, and the pressure on your damaged meridians will be greater. If you continue to practice, one day your heart will not be able to bear it. You should be able to imagine the consequences at that time. Su Weifeng said calmly. Old Han was sweating coldly when he heard it. Fortunately, he met this young man today, otherwise his heart might explode one day. He would definitely become a laughing stock in the martial arts world. Someone must say that old Han practiced himself to death. What should I do? Can my grandfather still treat it? Xia King was also scared after hearing what Su Weifeng said. She had unknowingly believed this liar. Old Han also became nervous and waited for Su Weifeng's answer. It is possible to treat it, but it is more troublesome than I expected. I thought it was just a normal meridian damage. I can use silver needles to treat it. Insert the needles directly into the damaged meridians, and then use the true key to help it recover. But now that it is confirmed that it is the meridian at the heart, I can't insert the needles there. The heart is very fragile and can't be taken lightly. Su Weifeng said. Doctor, can I still treat it? Old Han was so nervous that he forgot that this was not a hospital. Of course I can treat it. I will still use silver needles to treat it, but this time I will insert the needles into the upper and lower parts of the heart meridian at the same time, and assist the heart meridian in the middle to recover from both ends. Su Weifeng thought about it and said, this is also the safer method he thought of. Then please save my grandfather. Xia King said anxiously. Su Weifeng nodded, took out the silver needles he brought with him, and pinched a silver needle in each hand. Old Han turned over secretly according to Su Weifeng's instructions, and nodded to Su Weifeng to indicate that he was ready. Su Weifeng moved his hands quickly, and the silver needle accurately pierced the two ends of the heart meridian. Su Weifeng's true key was also input into the silver needle at the same time. Old Han only felt a warm current flowing into his heart, and his whole body was warm, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. This feeling was something he had never experienced before. He closed his eyes and gradually fell asleep in this warm feeling. After a while, he began to snore evenly. You can still fall asleep like this? Xia King looked at her grandfather speechlessly. How big is his heart? He can still fall asleep with a needle in his heart. Su Weifeng smiled slightly. Seeing old Han like this, he knew that his treatment plan was correct. Now his true key has taken effect. Su Weifeng slowly transported his true key, and sweat gradually appeared on his face. An hour later, Su Weifeng pulled out the silver needle, and old Han also woke up the moment the silver needle was pulled out. At this time, Su Weifeng looked at him with a smile. Old Han, let's use your internal force, and see how it works. Su Weifeng said with a smile. After listening to Su Weifeng's instructions, Han Leo sat up, and circulated his internal energy. Soon, he circulated for a week. Han Leo suddenly opened his eyes, and said in surprise, my internal energy is unblocked. I don't feel blocked anymore. I'm fine. I'm fine. Without this problem, my internal energy will soon be able to go further. Han Leo shouted excitedly. He hadn't been so happy for a long time. Great, Grandpa, great. Xia King jumped excitedly. Mr. Su, you are really a miracle doctor. I really have to thank you very much. What do you want? Just tell me directly. As long as I have it, it's alright. Han Leo excitedly pulled Su Weifeng and said. Haha, it's nothing. We met by chance. It's just a small effort for me. Su Weifeng said with a smile. That won't work. It's just a small effort for you, but it's a great favor for me. I have to repay Su Weifeng no matter what. I must pay Mr. Su medical expenses. I will give 10 million. No, 20 million. Han Leo said excitedly. I said, I don't want money, and I don't lack money. Su Weifeng said. That's not going to work. Old Han frowned, and said to himself. He was a man who knew how to repay kindness. How could he not repay such a life-saving favor? What do you think of my granddaughter? Old Han's eyes suddenly lit up, and he said to Su Weifeng. Grandpa. Xia King stamped her feet, and said that her grandfather was too unreliable. He was selling her out in front of her. Old Han, you're kidding. I really need old Han's help with something. Su Weifeng said hurriedly. The old man might force Xia King on him in a while. He had no shortage of beauties around him. Whatever it is, as long as I can do it, just tell me. Old Han said proudly. Chapter 859, Division of Warriors. I also practice internal skills. Old Han should know it. And my internal strength seems to be different from old Han's. It should be called True Key. I wonder if old Han has heard of it? Su Weifeng said seriously. What? Is it really True Key? Old Han said excitedly. It should be. Su Weifeng nodded to confirm. I just said that when you treated me just now, I felt that your internal strength was different from mine. It turned out to be the legendary True Key. Old Han said, and looked at Su Weifeng in disbelief. Grandpa, what is True Key? Isn't it internal strength? Xia King frowned and said, obviously she didn't know. Su Weifeng was shocked and very surprised. This old Han really knew True Key. It was really the right time to come today. He looked at Old Han eagerly, waiting for his next words. Mr. Su, do you know the level of martial artists? Old Han did not answer Su Weifeng's words directly, but asked instead. I really don't know this. I have no sect or school. Su Weifeng said with a smile. No wonder you don't know about true Qi. Old Han sighed, but he was still a little uncertain in his heart. Such a powerful young man would not be from a hidden family, but practiced it himself. Grandpa, I'm also a warrior. Why don't I know about this true Qi? Xia King looked at Grandpa in confusion. It's normal that you don't know. Your level is too low. Old Chen looked at Xia King and smiled. Xia King gritted her teeth in anger. This was contempt. Naked contempt. Then let me tell you about the system of warriors. First of all, warriors are divided into internal force warriors and external force warriors. Old Han said. External force warriors are the most common, like some of the current fitness and various fighting. These are all cultivated muscles, bones, and skin, relying on one's own flesh to fight. This is called an external force warrior. Su Weifeng listened carefully. This is easy to understand. An internal force warrior refers to a warrior who has cultivated internal force. Such a warrior not only has a strong body, but also has internal force in his body, which is equivalent to installing a generator for the body, which can continuously provide energy to the body. If an internal force warrior encounters an external force warrior, as long as the strength of the two is not much different, the internal force warrior will win. Then I'm also an internal force warrior. Su Weifeng said. Of course. Han Leo said affirmatively. What about me? Xia King said hurriedly. You are almost there. When you cultivate internal force, and can use it on your fists, then you will be an internal force warrior. Han Leo said with a smile. Ah, when will that be? Xia King rolled her eyes. She had just cultivated a little internal force recently, and if you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to find it. It's really unknown when she can use internal force in battle. Look at Mr. Su, who is about the same age as you. What kind of strength is he? You can't even be considered an internal force warrior. Han Leo couldn't help, but shook his head. He is not much stronger than me. I will catch up with him soon, if I work hard. Xiao King said dissatisfiedly. You want to surpass Mr. Su? Do you know what level Mr. Su is? I can't even catch up with him. Forget it in your life. Old Han stared at his granddaughter. Ah, he is better than you, Grandpa. Xiao King opened her mouth and exclaimed. Of course, Mr. Su has already reached the level of true energy. How can I compare with him? Old Han sighed and said, he was also envious and jealous. Grandpa, what is true energy? Tell me quickly. Xiao King was also anxious and asked hurriedly. Seeing that Su Weifeng was also staring at him closely, Old Han spoke. Don't worry, listen to me, and tell you in detail. Those who have internal energy and can use it on a part of the body are called yellow level warriors, which is the lowest level of internal energy warriors. When the internal energy is stronger and can be spread all over the body, it is called Zuan level warriors. And I'm at this level now, Zuan level. Old Han explained patiently. Grandpa, you are so powerful now, you have reached the Zuan level. Xia King shouted. She knew her grandfather was powerful since she was a child, but she didn't expect him to reach the Zuan level. He sounded very powerful. Old Han smiled bitterly. He used to think he was very powerful, but after seeing Su Weifeng, he really couldn't compare. His talent could be described as garbage. The next level above the Zuan level is the D level. The D level means that the true energy is as vast and boundless as the earth. There is another name for the D level, Grandmaster. When you reach the level of Grandmaster, you can establish a sect and become the head of the sect and pass on your martial arts. Old Han said, with desire in his eyes. Becoming a Grandmaster is his lifelong dream. And above, it is the heaven level, also called the innate level. The innate warrior has transcended the scope of internal force, but has cultivated the innate true Qi. The innate true Qi is the chaotic spiritual energy formed when the world was opened up. Once you enter the innate level, you are no longer an ordinary person. It is said that when the innate true Qi is fully developed, the body also becomes the innate holy body, invulnerable to swords and spears, and is simply a land immortal, but these are all legends. Zuan level is common, but earth level masters are rare, and innate is even more unheard of. It only exists in legends. Old Han sighed. Su Weifeng was puzzled after hearing this. He was already an innate, that is, a heaven level warrior. Could it be that my brother is just a legend? It shouldn't be. I'm very strong, but I don't feel that I have transcended the level of mortals. Can I be considered heaven level? Su Weifeng frowned and said to Old Han, I don't know about this, but your internal force is indeed not ordinary internal force. Old Han said uncertainly, how can it be heaven level? How can he be like a god? Is he just an ordinary person? Xia King said disdainfully. Old Han also saw Su Weifeng's depression. This young man himself didn't know what was wrong with him. If it were him, he would be depressed too. But according to your internal strength, it will not be lower than the Zuan level at least, or it may touch the edge of the earth level. Old Han thought about it and gave his own judgment. Grandmaster? Su Weifeng muttered in his heart, sounding very impressive. Su Weifeng didn't tell him about his purple true key, not because he didn't believe Old Han. After several contacts, he saw that Old Han was an upright person, but it was better for him to know this secret alone. And seeing that Old Han didn't understand true key, it would be useless to ask. Su Weifeng's mind turned and thought of a possibility. According to Old Han, the strength of this internal force warrior is enhanced little by little. First, there is internal force, and the internal force becomes stronger little by little, and then the true key is cultivated. But he didn't practice internal force, but the true key appeared directly. Could it be because of the broken body refining book he practiced at that time? That secret book is higher than the general martial arts inheritance, so he skipped the practice of internal force and cultivated true ki directly. Chapter 860 Old Classmate. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was the case. If only the secret book had not been destroyed, he would also know the direction of subsequent development, and he believed that he would have solved the mystery of his true energy. However, it was useless to think about it now. Su Weifeng said goodbye to Han Leo and Xia King. Han Leo had already told him everything he knew, and he could not get anything valuable from asking any more questions. Han Leo insisted on giving Su Weifeng some reward, but Su Weifeng politely declined. Seeing that Su Weifeng was so persistent, Han Leo gave up the idea and told Su Weifeng to find him if he needed anything in the future. Only then did he let Su Weifeng leave the villa. It was already noon when Su Weifeng returned to the Oriental Hotel. Chu Xiaotu was eating lunch sent by the hotel in the living room. The noble room Su Weifeng booked already included 3 meals a day, and the dishes were very good. Today's main course for lunch was steak and lobster, and Chu Xiaotu was fighting with the lobster. Boss, would you like some lobster? It's delicious. Seeing Su Weifeng coming back, Chu Xiaotu, who was eating happily, broke off a piece of lobster meat and handed it to Su Weifeng. Chu Xiaotu regretted it after she finished speaking. She had already eaten the lobster, so how could she give it to the boss? She couldn't help but stick out her tongue when she thought about it. Su Weifeng didn't think too much about it. He took the lobster from Chu Xiaotu and put it in his mouth to eat. Well, it's really good. Su Weifeng said casually. Ah. Chu Xiaotu was shocked. The boss really ate it. There might be her own saliva on it. But seeing that the boss didn't care, Chu Xiaotu was relieved, but she was a little proud in her heart. Boss, where did you go to fool around again? Chu Xiaotu just remembered that the boss didn't come back all night again and couldn't help but stare at Su Weifeng. Ah, didn't I tell you? Su Weifeng said subconsciously when he saw Chu Xiaotu's look, and then he felt something was wrong. Why was she like a wife interrogating her husband? Haha, I'm just teasing you. Chu Xiaotu also found something wrong and hurriedly said with a smile. Boss, are you going to the bar tonight? Chu Xiaotu asked. Well, let's go and have a look. I haven't been there for several days. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said. Okay. Chu Xiaotu shouted excitedly and then embarrassedly stuck out his tongue. It seems that he was a little too excited. Su Weifeng smiled, turned around and went back to his room and came out again after a while. Xiaotu, accompany me out this afternoon. Su Weifeng said. What are you going to do, boss? Chu Xiaotu asked with her head tilted. Accompany me to buy a car. Su Weifeng said casually. He needed a car. There was no means of transportation. It was very inconvenient to go anywhere, especially to practice in the middle of the night, and he had to run. When he heard that he was going to buy a car, Qiao went straight into the bathroom and washed and dressed. Although he was not buying it himself, he was very excited. Qiao was much more familiar with Galan City than Su Weifeng. This time, Qiao led the team and the two of them went straight to Caesar Street, which is also the gathering place of Galan City's 4S stores. "Boss, what car do you want to buy?" Qiao happily pulled Su Weifeng and said. "Well, I haven't decided yet, just look around." Su Weifeng thought about it and really didn't have any idea. For him, a car is just a means of transportation. "Then let's go and look at BMW," Qiao said excitedly when she saw that Su Weifeng didn't have any target. She liked BMW herself. "Then let's go," Su Weifeng said with a smile. Qiao pulled Su Weifeng and ran to the BMW 4S store excitedly. Su Weifeng was pulled and could only follow helplessly. BMW is popular. As soon as they entered the BMW 4S store, they saw that there were already many people looking at cars inside, and there were no sales staff. The receptionist at the door simply registered the two people and asked them to wait for a while. A staff member would come to receive them. Su Weifeng and Qiao didn't wait here. The two of them went in to look first. "Boss, this X5 is so beautiful. I dream of having one of this car. The white one is like a Prince Charming. Look at the lines." Qiao saw an X5, and her eyes were full of stars. She said to Su Weifeng excitedly. Su Weifeng took a look and found that the appearance was indeed very beautiful. It was installed with good space. He also thought it was good, so he decided to take another look. If there was nothing suitable, he would buy it. Su Weifeng? A girl's puzzled voice sounded. Su Weifeng turned back subconsciously when he heard the voice and saw a familiar figure next to the BMW 5 Series. This was a girl wearing a silk short skirt. She was very beautiful and elegant, and the whole person exuded a sense of pride. There was also a man with gold-rimmed glasses next to her, who also looked closely at Su Weifeng, but he was not looking at Su Weifeng, but Qiao next to Su Weifeng. Tang Wan. Su Weifeng remembered. Wasn't this his elementary school classmate? His family was well off when he was in elementary school, but he didn't expect to meet him here. Su Weifeng, it's really you. I didn't expect you to go abroad. Later I heard that you didn't go to college to join the army, Tang Wan said with a smile. She was still very happy to see old classmates in a foreign country. "Wanna, who is this?" The man with gold-rimmed glasses next to Tang Wan walked up and said. "Oh, I forgot to introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Shen Fei. His family runs a hotel. This is my elementary school classmate Su Weifeng," Tang Wan said with a smile, feeling very proud. "Look at my boyfriend's conditions. Are you envious?" After Tang Wan introduced them, Su Weifeng and Shen Fei simply said hello and shook hands. "Is this your girlfriend?" Tang Wan said to Su Weifeng with a smile. "Yes, my friend." Su Weifeng smiled. "You still say friend? A girlfriend is a girlfriend. The girl is so beautiful. How did you trick her into getting her?" Tang Wan said with a sly smile. Qiao couldn't help but feel a little hot on her face when she heard that she was Su Weifeng's girlfriend, but she didn't refute it. She smiled and greeted them. Shen Fei looked at his girlfriend and then at Qiao. He felt a little unhappy. Qiao was too beautiful and even more youthful and beautiful. She even outshined his girlfriend. Why did such a beautiful girl follow that boy? You can tell from the clothes of that boy and his girlfriend that they are all very ordinary goods. There is not a single luxury item. This boy is just a poor loser. The more Shen Fei looked at Qiao, the prettier she became. It would be great if she was my girlfriend, even if it wasn't just for fun. He had a plan in mind. You guys are here to take a break and look at cars, right? It's like this in all 4S stores now. People look at cars more than they buy. It doesn't cost anything to look at them, so you can buy any car you like. Shen Fei said with a smile, but there was a hint of sarcasm in his words. He didn't believe that these two people could buy a BMW, and they were still looking at the X5 here, just to satisfy their eyes. Just look around and buy if you find something suitable, Su Weifeng said calmly. It's true that you can only look around. It's really difficult for ordinary people like you to buy a BMW. Shen Fei sighed deliberately. Chapter 861. This is it. We are planning to buy this 5 Series. It has a large space and is comfortable to sit in. I will give you a car after we buy it, Tang Wan said with a smile. She didn't care about Shen Fei's words. For ordinary people like Su Weifeng, they were just old classmates. She felt that she was one level or even several levels lower than him. There was nothing wrong with what her boyfriend said. Don't bother. We are going to buy a car today. Su Weifeng smiled gently. What car are you going to buy? Volkswagen or Toyota? It is indeed more economical and affordable. It is good for young people to buy that kind. It seems that Mr. Su is doing well, Shen Fei said casually. Chu Xiaotu was already angry. Her boss was despised, just like despising her. Seeing that the boss didn't react, she was even more angry. We want to buy a BMW too, Chu Xiaotu said loudly. After saying that, she regretted it a little. She subconsciously looked at Su Weifeng. The boss wanted to buy a car, but didn't say he wanted to buy a BMW. Would he be angry if I said I wanted to buy a BMW without authorization? Chu Xiaotu was a little worried, but when she saw that Su Weifeng didn't mean to be angry, she felt relieved. You guys also buy BMW? Tang Wan said in surprise. Didn't her classmate say that he didn't even go to college? His family was not rich, so how could he buy a BMW? Her sense of superiority was hit, and she felt unhappy. Are you kidding? Do you know how much a BMW costs? And it's not a reduced configuration. It's more expensive than the ones in China. Shen Fei laughed exaggeratedly. Which series do you want to buy? The first series? Shen Fei continued to laugh. Sir, madam, hello, which model do you want to see? Let me introduce it to you. A female salesperson came over and said to Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu with a smile. She had just sent off a wave of customers and was arranged to receive Su Weifeng and others. We haven't received anyone yet. Let me see the 5 Series first. I want to test drive it. Shen Fei shouted loudly, very dissatisfied. Sorry, sir, we come in order and receive people in the order of registration. If you haven't registered, please register at the door first, and a staff member will serve you soon. The female salesperson said to Shen Fei with a smile. I have to register to buy a car? Do you know that I want to buy a 5 Series? I will order it today. You didn't receive me but received them. They just looked around and there is no way they can buy it. Shen Fei shouted loudly. Who said we won't buy it? Su Weifeng also put away his smile. Sir, which model do you want to know? I will introduce it to you. The female salesperson said to Su Weifeng with a smile on her face. Okay, then we will take a look together and refer to what you buy. Shen Fei suddenly laughed. He had confirmed that his girlfriend's classmate was just pretending. It was impossible for him to buy a BMW. Tang Wan frowned and was a little unhappy. There was obvious disbelief in her eyes. She thought to herself, Su Weifeng, why are you pretending? Do you need to pretend in front of me? Is it useful? I also want to see what you can buy. Xiaotu, I'll give you a chance. Which of these cars do you like best? Let's buy it. Don't worry about the price. Su Weifeng said to Chu Xiaotu with a smile. Pretend. Keep pretending. You and your girlfriend have rehearsed it, right? Talent, actor, you throw the problem to your girlfriend, and then your girlfriend says that you are not satisfied with it, and look down on it, and then you take the opportunity to leave. My friend, let me advise you that you need capital to pretend. You can only pretend if you have money, and it is shameful if you don't have money. Look at me, I'm so rich. Am I pretending? I just bought a 5 Series, right? It's just a few $100,000. I still don't care. It's practical. You let your girlfriend choose whatever she wants. You are not short of money. Ha ha ha, isn't it childish? Shen Fei laughed and danced with joy, as if he had heard a big joke. Old classmate, I'm not saying anything bad about you. Just say whatever you want in front of us. You don't have money, and we won't look down on you, but it's wrong for you to do this. Tang Wan frowned and said. Su Weifeng just smiled lightly, too lazy to explain, and there was no need to explain. Do I need to tell everyone that I have money? Zio2, don't you like BMW? Which one do you like the most? Su Weifeng smiled and looked at Zio2. Then let's go for the X7. I still like SUVs because they have more space. Zio2 saw that the boss really let her choose, and she shouted excitedly, haha, the lines are wrong. You didn't practice your acting well. Shen Fei mocked. Tang Wan also chuckled, thinking that her old classmate was embarrassed this time. Sir, I'll take you to see the X7. Follow me, the saleswoman said with a smile. You really took him to see it? Are you stupid? A car worth nearly 2 million yuan, can't you tell whether he can afford it? If he breaks something, can he afford to pay for it? Your bonus will be deducted at that time. Shen Fei snorted and said to the saleswoman, Sir, please come this way. The saleswoman still smiled, but she was disdainful of Shen Fei in her heart. She had seen many people like this. They showed off everywhere when they had a little money, and when they actually bought a car, they bargained hard and asked for gifts. They were almost asking the salesperson to sleep with them. No need to see it. Su Weifeng said. Boss, Zio2 thought that the car she said was too expensive, and the boss was angry, so she said in a low voice, haha, you can't act anymore. Your girlfriend has cheated you. Shen Fei laughed so hard that he fell backwards. It was just as he expected. He was so proud. As soon as Shen Fei finished speaking, Su Weifeng spoke. We want that one, the top configuration. Do you have it in stock? Su Weifeng said to the saleswoman with a smile. Yes, the top configuration is available. The saleswoman was also shocked. Her heart forgot to beat, and she said hurriedly, okay, take us to go through the formalities. Su Weifeng said. Ah. Tang Wan was stunned, thinking she had heard it wrong. Okay. Zio2 jumped up happily, and her favorite X7 could be sat this time. It must be fake. Let me see what you pay with. Shen Fei still couldn't believe it, and muttered in a low voice. Seeing that it was a big customer, the saleswoman became more enthusiastic and hurriedly took Su Weifeng and Zio2 to go through the formalities, and Shen Fei and Tang Wan followed behind. Knowing that Su Weifeng transferred 1.88 million, Shen Fei finally believed that this was true. How could this be possible? How could this be possible? Tang Wan was also surprised to see her old classmate. She didn't expect that she had misjudged him. This old classmate of hers was not an ordinary person. Su Weifeng, are you free tonight? Let's have a small gathering of classmates. Come together. Tang Wan took the initiative to say. She didn't want to invite Su Weifeng at first. She didn't regard him as a person of the same level as herself. Seeing that Su Weifeng could buy an X7, she wanted to contact this old classmate. Maybe he could help her in the future. I have something else to do tonight, so I won't go. Su Weifeng said calmly. Chapter 862 Zio2's driving skills. It's rare that we are all in gallons. In the future, we can help each other. Tonight, there is Wang Zuman. Come on, take your girlfriend together. Tang Wan said with a smile. Su Weifeng still agreed to take Zio2 to participate. Originally, he didn't want to contact Tang Wan. He was not all the way with himself, and he was beaten by looking at her boyfriend. However, when he thought of Wang Zuman, he wanted to see him. There was no other idea. He just wanted to see what Wang Zuman grew up. It's not satisfied, and it's no wonder that my old classmates bought the X7. There was no harm without comparison. Compared with the X7, the 5 Series is indeed much worse. What does your classmate do? Can he really afford an X7? He won't buy it and then refund it after we leave, right? Shen Fei said to Tang Wan, still holding his breath. That's impossible. He has already paid. Even if we refund it now, we can't give him the full amount. He won't be that stupid. As for what he is doing now, I don't know. Let's talk about it when we get together tonight. Maybe it can help us. Tang Wan said, which was also the purpose of his inviting Su Weifeng. Why do we need his help? After all, I'm also a member of the Shen family. Can my uncle and cousin ignore me? We mainly need to contact Wang Zuman more. Her fiancé is quite powerful. Shen Fei said disdainfully. Boss, you really went to meet them? Who are they? They ridiculed you as soon as they met. Why should we care about such people? Zio2 said to Su Weifeng angrily. I want to meet someone. Su Weifeng said with a smile, his eyes looking into the distance, as if he saw a little girl with twin ponytails and a red skirt. That's not the person you have a crush on, right? Chu Xiaotu immediately remembered the name Tang Wan had mentioned just now. Su Weifeng was a little embarrassed. How could this little girl be so confused that she was hit on the head right away? I guess so. We were all kids at the time. What did we know? Su Weifeng said. So you want to rekindle the past? Chu Xiaotu said a little unhappy. What do you mean by rekindling the past? I don't even know what she will look like when she grows up. I just want to see her when she grows up so that I won't have any regrets for my childhood. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, "Boss, should I go with you tonight?" Chu Xiaotu said with some anticipation. "What are you going for? You're not my girlfriend." Su Weifeng said in confusion. "Of course I have to go. Boss, look, they all think I'm your girlfriend, and you promised to bring your girlfriend. If I don't go, wouldn't you be breaking your promise?" Chu Xiaotu helped analyze. "It doesn't matter. You don't have to care so much about them. I don't plan to keep in touch with them in the future." Su Weifeng shook his head. "Boss, that's not it. Think about it. Since you are asked to bring your girlfriend, then everyone else will bring their families. They are all in pairs. You are the only single dog, especially Wang Zuman will bring her husband. It will be so embarrassing for you. I will reluctantly accompany you." Chu Xiaotu continued with a turn of his eyes. Su Weifeng thought about it, and it was the case. Why didn't he think of it just now? Wang Zuman is so beautiful that she can't have no boyfriend. It would be embarrassing if he went alone. It would be better to ask Chu Xiaotu to accompany him. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at Chu Xiaotu beside him. At this time, Chu Xiaotu's eyes were shining, looking at him expectantly. She was so excited that he always felt that it was a wrong decision to bring her. "What about you and I going to the bar?" Su Weifeng thought about the bar again and said with some worry, "Boss, you didn't go to the bar for the past 2 days. We have hired a new waiter. Otherwise, I can't handle it myself. I will take a day off today to accompany you to dinner." "Boss, you can't deduct my salary," Chu Xiaotu said with a smile. "Do I owe you a day's salary?" Su Weifeng said speechlessly. "Boss, do I get a red envelope for pretending to be your girlfriend? Part-time girlfriends online are charged by the hour." Chu Xiaotu said again. "Then I won't hire you. I'll go by myself." Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. "That won't work. Since we have such a good relationship, how can I let you embarrass yourself? I'll just make a friendly appearance." Chu Xiaotu said proudly, with a little excitement in her heart. "Sir, your vehicle procedures have been completed. Now you can go with me to pick up the car." The saleswoman came over and said with a smile. She was very happy today. She met a big customer like Su Weifeng, and she was very happy. She paid the money directly to go through the procedures. It was obviously the first time she came, and she didn't need an introduction. Unlike the man just now, he came several times, but he didn't buy anything, and he was still pretending to be nothing. "Yeah." Chu Xiaotu shouted excitedly, jumping and running out. Chu Xiaotu's running also attracted the attention of other customers. The men saluted one after another, and some were almost drooling. "Sir, you are so lucky to have such a lively and lovely girlfriend," the saleswoman said with a smile. Su Weifeng smiled slightly, but in his heart he said that it was fortunate that she was not my girlfriend, otherwise I would have a headache. The car that Chu Xiaotu chose was a white X7. Originally, her favorite color was red, but considering that it was a bit eye-catching for a man like her boss to drive a red SUV, she had to settle for a white one. White is also a classic color of BMW and is very beautiful. The female salesperson brought Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu to the front of their X7. Chu Xiaotu excitedly walked around the front and back of the car and couldn't let it go. "Boss, I'll drive it back for you." Chu Xiaotu also took the local bus ticket test, but she hadn't driven it yet. When she saw her favorite BMW X7, her hands immediately itched. Su Weifeng then remembered that he didn't have a local driver's license yet, so he asked Ajax to help him get one. Chu Xiaotu sat in the driver's seat excitedly, recalling the process in the driving school: release, handbrake, Shift gears. Lift the clutch. No clutch. Then release the brake. Go. Su Weifeng didn't believe in Chu Xiaotu's skills at first, and he held the handrail on the passenger seat tightly from the moment he got in the car. After driving for a while, Su Weifeng felt relieved and let go. Chu Xiaotu drove back to the hotel at a speed of 20 miles per hour. When the person arrived at the hotel, he found that the bar was open, so he drove to the bar quickly and prepared to give instructions to Mo Fei. Just arrived at the hotel, the time agreed with Tang Wan and others in the evening was almost up, and Chu Xiaotu drove quickly to the destination again. Su Weifeng had decided that he would never ride in Chu Xiaotu's car again. He thought she would drive like a beast, rushing around, but she didn't expect it to be a tortoise. The whole way was filled with the sound of car horns. Fortunately, when other vehicles saw that the driver was a big beauty, no one said anything. "Boss, how is my driving?" "It's stable enough," Chu Xiaotu said proudly. "Yeah, steady." Su Weifeng was about to cry, but he didn't dare to urge Chu Xiaotu. With this level, if he urged, the consequences would be serious. "Do you really know the way?" Su Weifeng asked Chu Xiaotu for the third time. Why did he feel so unreliable? "Boss, don't worry. This Soho bar is right next to the university town. I go to school there, so I know it. Sit tight, we will be there soon," Chu Xiaotu said confidently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 863, Demolition of the Second Generation. Soho Bar. 2 men and 2 women were sitting there, looking towards the door from time to time. "Zuman, why hasn't Su Weifeng come yet? It seems that you are not attractive enough," a girl said with a smile. It was Tang Wan, whom Su Weifeng met in the 4S shop during the day. "Wana, don't talk nonsense. What's attractive about me?" said another beautiful woman wearing a small windbreaker and short hair. "Oh, Wana, you have to tell me if this is my Wana's former pursuer," a man said with a smile. This is a man over 1.85 meters tall, wearing an army suit. The whole person is full of aura when he sits there. It is Zuman's boyfriend Yu Hao. He is from the Yu family in Z City in China and opened his own network company in Galan. He is not worthy of pursuing Zuman, a man said disdainfully. It was Shen Fei with gold-rimmed glasses. Zuman and Yu Hao looked at Shen Fei in confusion. It seems that he is not on good terms with Su Weifeng. He is not a pursuer either. He liked me in elementary school. What do children know? Wang Zuman said with a smile. It happened in primary school. It's really long ago. Yu Hao also laughed and felt relieved. Wana, how did you meet Su Weifeng? It's not easy to run into him in this place. Wang Zuman asked Tang Wan curiously. Today, Shen Fei and I went to the BMW 4S store to buy a car, but I didn't expect to meet Su Weifeng there. Tang Wan said. Does Su Weifeng sell cars there? Yu Hao said with some disdain, and he was a little disgusted with his rival who was not a rival in love. Wana, you all bought BMWs. It's amazing. You have only been out for a few years. Wang Zuman sighed. What's ours? It's still your Yu Hao who is amazing. Now he is the boss of the company. Tang Wan said, feeling very proud. He doesn't sell cars, he buys cars. Seeing us buy a 5 Series, he bought an X7. We are all classmates. Why is he pretending to be a rich man in front of us? Shen Fei said angrily, and he was still angry. Originally, buying a 5 Series was the proudest thing for him. When he was the proudest, he was slapped in the face. How could he not be angry? Su Weifeng is so rich. He can even buy an X7? Wang Zuman was also surprised. She didn't expect that her elementary school classmate was doing so well. When she was a child, she didn't hear that his family had any background. His parents were ordinary workers. What does your classmate do? Yu Hao frowned and said, feeling very unhappy. He didn't care about an X7. As a member of the Yu family, buying a sports car didn't matter. But seeing that his girlfriend's former sweeter was not doing too badly, he felt uncomfortable. I just came to K country. It seems that I opened a small shop by myself. I guess my family was demolished. Tang Wan said with a smile. She was just chosen for Su Weifeng. Wang Zuman and the other two were the ones she wanted to build a good relationship with. Shen Zhao was just a collateral branch of the Shen family and had no status. But Wang Zuman's boyfriend Yu Hao was different. He was a direct descendant of the Yu family. Even in Galan, he had some power. He and Shen Fei would need Yu Hao's help in Galan. Haha, it turns out that he is a second generation demolition. Yu Hao laughed when he heard it, and his sense of superiority returned. That's true, he's full of local tyrant aura, hahaha. Shen Fei also laughed, and the two men found a funny point, as if the distance between them was shortened a little. Is it like what you said? Wang Zuman laughed. She didn't have any impression of Su Weifeng. She must have a closer relationship with Tang Wan, and she didn't care what her best friend said. You'll know when you see it later. It's domineering. Tang Wan also laughed after she finished speaking. Suddenly, an ordinary looking man and a cute little beauty with big eyes came over and walked straight to Tang Wan and her table. Tang Wan saw that it was Su Weifeng and Chu Zhao too, and hurriedly greeted them. Shen Fei and Wang Zuman also stood up. Only Yu Hao looked at Su Weifeng coldly, and his eyes were attracted by Chu Zhao too in an instant. Such a beautiful girl is no less beautiful than his girlfriend, and even better, so he couldn't help but feel jealous. Wang Zuman saw Yu Hao staring at the girl Su Weifeng brought, and felt a little unhappy. She kicked him, and this time Yu Hao stood up. After greeting several people, they took their seats. At Yu Hao's signal, the waiter came over. Mr. Su, what would you like to drink? I'll treat you today, so don't be polite. Yu Hao waved his hand and said, I want a glass of Sunshine Beach. Chu Zhao smiled and raised her hand. I'll have a glass of Commander. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, haha, Mr. Su and your girlfriend are also veterans. Yu Hao laughed. That's right, my husband runs a bar. Chu Zhao said proudly, and this was very natural. Oh, I knew I would go to your bar earlier. Whoever makes the money will make money. Yu Hao pretended to be regretful, and he had a clue in his heart. It turned out that you run a bar. It's impossible to open a big bar. There is no aura at all. Yes, Su Weifeng, where is your bar? Let's go to support it when we have time. Tang Wan also said, welcome, welcome, come to my place if you have a chance. It's on Bar Street, called Beast Bar. Su Weifeng said, that bar, I've really been to it. It's dozens of square meters in size, with one bartender and one waiter. Shen Fei laughed and mocked. Wang Zuman and Yu Hao also laughed in their hearts after hearing this. They thought that this old classmate was doing very well. It turned out that he opened such a big bar, which was not even as big as the steamed bun shop. There is a saying that I feel relieved when I see that you are not doing well. I just took over that bar too. Su Weifeng said calmly. Chu Zhao was a little unhappy. She was an employee of that bar. Shen Fei obviously looked down on her bar, but she didn't say anything because of Su Weifeng's face. Tang Wan knew that Su Weifeng was a bar owner. She was very disappointed and didn't want to make friends with him. If he opened a company, he might be able to help her a little. What can a bar owner do? He doesn't sell alcohol. Several people talked about Yu Hao again. Tang Wan and Shen Fei's intention to curry favor with him was obvious, which made Chu Zhao stunned. The attitudes of these two people towards their classmates were too different. They were sarcastic about their boss, and were sarcastic about Yu Hao. What does Mr. Yu do? He is doing very well. Chu Zhao said deliberately. Su Weifeng was stunned. He didn't expect Chu Zhao to get angry. He smiled bitterly. He didn't want to pay attention to these people. He was also very disappointed after meeting Wang Zuman. She was no longer the innocent little girl in his impression. Although she didn't say anything, when she knew that he was running a small bar, the pride in her eyes could still be seen, especially when she was complimented by Tang Wan and Shen Fei. Do you know who Mr. Yu is? Mr. Yu is from the Yu family in Z City in China. It's a big family. He may become the patriarch in the future. Shen Fei said loudly, very proud, as if he was talking about himself. Mr. Shen, you are too kind. It's not easy to be the patriarch. Yu Hao said modestly. Needless to say, he was actually very proud. He liked Shen Fei more and more. Chapter 864 Cousin ran away. Mr. Yu is also a member of the family. I have met your cousin, Yu Hao said with a smile. The status of the Shen family in Z City is not worse than that of the Yu family, but Shen Fei is a collateral branch, so his status is far inferior to Yu Hao. Mr. Yu also knows my cousin Shen Zhao, Shen Fei said in surprise. Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. This name sounded familiar. Isn't this Xia King's classmate? He pretended to be so rich that he was scared when he met Mr. Xiang and didn't dare to enter the house. How can I not know Mr. Shen? He is also a celebrity in this galaxy, a top-ranked young master. Mr. Shen has your cousin to protect him, and his future achievements are limitless, Yu Hao said with a smile. Shen Fei smiled awkwardly. Others don't know him, don't they know him? He is called a cousin, but how can a direct young master like Shen Zhao regard him as a relative? His relationship with him is not much better than a stranger. Mr. Shen is also doing quite well in the university town. Everyone has to give him some face. He is also a person of character, Yu Hao said. Is this young Master Shen so powerful here? Wang Zuman asked curiously. That's right. Those who can play with young Master Shen are not ordinary people. They all have a deep background. I have also had a drink with young Master Shen, but we are not in the same circle and have not had many opportunities to meet, Yu Hao said with a smile, but he was very proud in his heart. He might not be as successful as young Master Shen in Galan, but in China, whether in family background or status, he and young Master Shen are about the same, young masters of the same level. Ah, Mr. Yu and my cousin have had a drink together, so they are really a family, Shen Fei said in surprise. He always thought that Yu Hao was a little worse than his cousin, but he didn't expect to be on an equal footing with his cousin. His desire to curry favor with him became stronger. His cousin ignored him, but Yu Hao couldn't help him because of his girlfriend. At this time, several young people came in and walked towards the bar. The leader was the young Master Shen Zhao who had just been mentioned. When passing by Su Weifeng's table, Shen Fei also saw young Master Shen. Cousin, what a coincidence to meet you here. Shen Fei stood up quickly and said nervously. Mr. Shen, we are destined to meet. Let's have a drink together. Yu Hao also stood up and said with a smile. Shen Zhao also recognized Yu Hao and greeted him with a smile. Shen Fei just nodded. There are a few friends here today. Let's drink next time, Shen Zhao said with a smile. Yu Hao also saw the group of people behind Shen Zhao. He knew a few of them. They were all from Shen Zhao's rich second generation circle. Everyone greeted them. Wang Zuman and Tang Wan also stood up and smiled as they watched their boyfriends socialize with these people. Only Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu were sitting there. Chu Xiaotu looked at the group of people coldly. Who is this beautiful woman? Shen Zhao suddenly found Chu Xiaotu sitting there and couldn't help but say. As for Su Weifeng, he ignored him directly. He was a very ordinary man. He didn't even stand up when he saw him. He had never seen the world and was too lazy to take a second look. This is my classmate's girlfriend. Tang Wan saw that Chu Xiaotu had not stood up yet and did not pay attention to Mr. Shen, so she hurriedly said and pulled Chu Xiaotu. If Chu Xiaotu had stood up and greeted him before, she would have given him some face. But now she was with the boss. If the boss did not stand up, she could not stand up either. She had to stand firmly with the boss. Hello, beautiful lady. My name is Shen Zhao. I'm from the Shen family. I also have a hotel in Jialan. Please leave your phone number. We can play together when we have time. Shen Zhao smiled and said to Chu Xiaotu. Shen Zhao was attracted to Chu Xiaotu as soon as he saw her. It seemed that those who could be with Shen Fei were not famous people, so she approached him directly. Wang Zuman and Tang Wan were a little embarrassed and looked at Su Weifeng. This was poaching in front of him. Although they were also very ashamed, this was Mr. Shen, who dared to offend him. Even Yu Hao did not want to offend him easily. Yu Hao did not care and pretended not to see it. He and Su Weifeng were not familiar with each other. It was not worth it for him to go out and smooth things over for the owner of a small bar. Shen Fei looked at Su Weifeng with a sense of embarrassment, waiting to see him get humiliated. You can't stand someone digging your girlfriend in front of you, but this is my cousin Shen Zhao. Do you dare to say a word? Sorry, I have a boyfriend. Chu Xiaotu said coldly while holding Su Weifeng's arm. Shen Zhao's face turned cold. He was so disrespectful to me that the friends behind him also laughed. Friend, I want your girlfriend's phone number. You won't disagree, will you? Shen Zhao patted Su Weifeng's shoulder and sneered in his heart. If you dare to say no, don't even think about leaving this bar today. You want my girlfriend's phone number? Su Weifeng raised his head at this moment and looked at Shen Zhao with a sneer. The moment Shen Zhao saw the man raise his head, he screamed. His legs felt a little weak and he wanted to slap himself in the face. This man was not someone he could afford to offend. This was a tough guy who could handle a group of bodyguards, not to mention that his background was not simple. His heart suddenly started beating wildly. Mr. Su, I didn't know you were here. It's my fault today. I'll drink a glass of wine to apologize to you. Shen Zhao's voice was trembling. He didn't care whose wine it was. He just picked up a glass of wine and drank it. Yu Heo. Young Master Shen is toasting to apologize. Who is this person? Is he also the young master of the family? Wang Zuman. Is this still my old classmate? So awesome. How is this possible? That's young Master Shen. Shen Fei. Is my cousin crazy? Or am I hallucinating? Damn it. Tang Wan. It seems that I bet on the wrong bet, but what kind of background does Su Weifeng have that can scare young Master Shen? As for the people behind young Master Shen, some of them also went to Wang Yui's birthday party that day. They hurriedly lowered their heads and shrank back, fearing that they would be discovered by this ruthless man. If they were unhappy with him, they would be ruined. Others who had never seen Su Weifeng were puzzled. What happened to these people today? Why did they act like mice seeing a cat? Su Weifeng was unwilling to deal with Shen Zhao. For Xia King's sake, he was unwilling to deal with him. He waved his hand casually, like chasing away a fly. Shen Zhao, however, was as if he had been pardoned. He ran away with his gang in disgrace. He didn't even dare to drink here. Now he just wanted to avoid Su Weifeng as far away as possible. Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu were drinking leisurely. Chu Xiaotu was very proud to see that his boss was so powerful. What a young master of a family. He still ran away in disgrace in front of his boss. Shen Fei and Ju Heo were still standing there stupidly, not knowing what to do for a while. They looked down on this man just now, but they didn't expect that he was such a ruthless person. Old classmate, you are not honest. Even young Master Shen is afraid of you. What are you doing now? Tang Wan said jokingly, staring at Su Weifeng closely. Chapter 865. Bunner's Trouble. Shen Fei and others also stared at Su Weifeng, waiting for his answer. We just had a meal together, and I met a few hooligans, and I beat them away. Su Weifeng said a few words simply. That's all? Wang Zuman said in disbelief. Yes, that's all. I just came to Country K, and I don't know any young masters of the family, haha. Su Weifeng said casually. Shen Fei's face was solemn, and he didn't believe what Su Weifeng said at all. If it was so simple, his cousin wouldn't be like this, and the people behind him were obviously afraid of Su Weifeng. Seeing that Su Weifeng didn't mean much, several people changed the topic, but they were all confused in their hearts. The three girls went to the bathroom together at this time. Girls have to touch up their makeup when they go out to eat. Su Weifeng was chatting with Shen Fei and Yu Heo. Su Weifeng only occasionally said a few words. In fact, it was Shen Fei and Yu Heo who were chatting, and Su Weifeng was not interested in their topic. Mr. Yu, have you heard? No one dares to cause trouble in the Bath Street. Shen Fei said mysteriously. Of course I know. The boss here is called Qiao, a friend of mine. Yu Heo said proudly. Ah, you know Qiao too? Shen Fei said in surprise. They are all brothers who play together. Yu Heo said with a smile, feeling very proud. Mr. Yu has a really wide network of contacts. Shen Fei exclaimed. Is Brother Daffy the boss of the university town Bar Street? Shen Fei suddenly said. Yes, that's Brother Daffy, otherwise who would dare to call him Brother Daffy? It doesn't matter who you mess with in this university town, I can solve it for you, but if you mess with Daffy, I really can't do anything. Yu Heo said seriously. Brother Daffy is so powerful. Mr. Yu's Yu family doesn't want to mess with him? Shen Fei said in surprise. Our Yu family is also mainly engaged in economics in Galan. We have some corporate power, but we are not good at fighting and killing. Yu Hao sighed. Mr. Yu and Qiao are friends. How could there be any conflict? Shen Fei said with a smile. Shen Fei and Yu Hao were chatting enthusiastically. One was praising the other, and both the host and the guest were having a great time. Su Weifeng just watched quietly, smiling bitterly in his heart. Why did he agree to come to this party? Isn't this asking for trouble for himself? Suddenly, a quarrel was heard in the distance. Su Weifeng frowned. It couldn't be Chu Xiaotu and the others. Looking in the direction of the sound, sure enough, in the back of the bathroom, Chu Xiaotu and the other two were being harassed by several young men. Su Weifeng hurriedly got up and walked over. Shen Fei and Yu Hao also followed with anger on their faces. At this time, Chu Xiaotu, Tang Wan, and Wang Zuman were being forced against the wall by several young men, and there was a young man lying on the ground. Chu Xiaotu was holding an electric baton and looking at them viciously. Su Weifeng laughed in his heart. This little rabbit, the electric baton is carried with him. A young man was holding a wine bottle and was about to hit Chu Xiaotu. Su Weifeng stepped over and grabbed the man's wrist. With a click, the man screamed and fell down, holding his wrist and rolling on the ground. Damn it. Seeing their companions being beaten, several men took out their weapons and prepared to fight. Stop, do you know who I am? I'm Yu Hao from the Yu family. Yu Hao also came over and shouted loudly. Several young people were obviously stunned. Although they did not know Yu Hao, they had heard of the name Yu Hao from the Yu family. He was also the young master of the family, and they could not afford to offend him. Young Master Yu, your people beat my brother. There must be an explanation for this. A man in black who seemed to be the leader said, and at the same time, waved his hand to signal his friends behind him. A short young man understood, and ran away to find someone. Yu Hao was a little angry. This was obviously not taking himself seriously. He dared to call for help. Let's see who you can call to touch me in the place of Master Qi. Explanation, right? I, Yu Hao, am the explanation. Yu Hao glared. Wang Zuman had already run to Yu Hao's side, hugged his arm, and glared at these people. Shen Fei hugged Tang Wan, and smiled and prepared to watch the show. If you provoke young Master Yu, you will suffer. Seeing Su Weifeng coming, Chu Xiaotu felt relieved, and turned into a little white rabbit in a second, completely different from the fierce look just now. Soon, the short young man who had just run away came back. At this moment, he was following a fat and big-eared middle-aged man, respectful and not daring to be faster than him. Seventh Master, why are you here for such a small matter? I can handle it myself. Yu Hao greeted the newcomer with a smile. Are you the kid from the Yu family? Why did you come to my place to cause trouble? This seventh master looked at Yu Hao, as if he was recalling something in his mind, and said in a very ruffian manner. Shen Fei was stunned. Is this the legendary seventh master? I haven't seen him yet, but why does this seventh master feel that he is not familiar with Yu Hao at all? Damn, is he pretending to be with me? Yu Hao's face was a little embarrassed. He had met 7th Master before, when he was with an elder, and the elder introduced him at that time. How come he didn't recognize him now? 7th Master, I brought my friends to your place to drink. These guys harassed my girlfriend and her friends, and they were beaten by my friend. Yu Hao didn't dare to get angry, and hurriedly explained. Uncle, you have to avenge me. The man whose wrist was broken by Su Weifeng held his wrist and shouted, and he groaned from time to time. The 7th Master only then discovered the injury of his nephew. He thought it was just a minor fight, but he didn't expect that his nephew's wrist was broken. The expression on his face changed immediately, and he stared at Yu Hao fiercely. Yu Hao had never seen such a fierce look, and he subconsciously took a step back, secretly saying in his heart that it was not good. This Su Weifeng hit the 7th Master's nephew. It was quite strange that the 7th Master had no son, and his favorite was his nephew. It seemed that it was this unlucky boy. Just these few women, just because of them, they broke my nephew's hand. 7th Master roared. Yu Hao was so scared that he didn't dare to speak, and sweat had already appeared on his head. As the eldest son of the family, he still relied on his family, and he had never seen a big scene. His girlfriend Wang Zuman also hugged his arms in fear, her nails digging into the flesh. Shen Fei was even more unbearable. His legs were shaking a little, and he hated Su Weifeng in his heart. Why did you hit the nephew of Master Qi when you could hit anyone else? This matter is troublesome. Don't let it implicate you. Chapter 866. Kicked away. Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu looked at him coldly. Su Weifeng didn't care at all. What would happen if he was killed? This was not China. Chu Xiaotu completely trusted her boss. No one could help her boss here. Seventh Master, for the sake of the Yu family, Yu Hao said with a stiff face, hoping to cover up the matter with the name of the Yu family. Of course, it was inevitable to pay some money. The man was beaten by Su Weifeng, and he was a rich man, so he just had to pay. But it was obvious that Yu Hao overestimated himself. He was interrupted by Seventh Master before he finished speaking. "You family boy, I will give the Yu family a face," Seventh Master said. Yu Hao breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally resolved. Shen Fei and others were also very happy. This Seventh Master was someone they couldn't afford to offend. You can leave with your girlfriend. As for the others, I have to deal with them well, otherwise they will think that I, Seventh Master, am easy to bully. Can Seventh Master's people be beaten casually? Seventh Master said coldly. Shen Fei and Tang Wan's hearts instantly turned cold. This was Master Qi not letting us go. He had also heard about some of the underworld's methods. He would just treat it as a joke if it happened to others, but if it happened to him, it was simply unimaginable. His scalp began to numb. "Master Qi, I'll ask them to pay you money, so just let them go," Yu Hao said hurriedly. These girls were all classmates of his girlfriend, and he couldn't just watch them and do nothing. Isn't it because of these girls? They are really pretty. Take them away for fun later. These two men broke their legs. Take them away. Master Qi looked at Chu Xiaotu, and green light flashed in his eyes. "Master Qi, we were wrong. It was all them. They beat the people. It has nothing to do with us." Shen Fei pointed at Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu and said. Tang Wan looked at Master Qi in horror and didn't dare to say anything at all. She just asked Master Qi to let her go. As for Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu, that was not something she could control. HMPH, what qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? Qi slapped Shen Fei to the ground and said coldly. Tang Wan looked at Wang Zuman and Yu Hao for help, hoping that Yu Hao could say something for her. Wang Zuman pulled Yu Hao, wanting him to speak for her, but Yu Hao stood there with a bitter face, not moving. He had brought his girlfriend out in front of him, so how could he dare to offend Qi now? "Break your legs first. What cats and dogs dare to talk to me?" Qi said coldly. Shen Fei was so scared that his liver and gallbladder broke, and he saw several young men walking towards him. "I'm also a family member. I'm Shen Fei from the Shen family, and Shen Zhao is my brother." Shen Fei shouted hurriedly. "Wait, you are from the Shen family? I have heard of Shen Zhao, but I don't know Shen Fei." Qi stopped the men who were about to take action. "Shen Zhao is my cousin," Shen Fei said hurriedly. "Oh, it's a cousin." Qi suddenly realized. He only knew that Shen Zhao was the youngest in the Shen family. It turned out that he was a cousin. There were many who were not direct descendants. It was normal that he had never heard of it. "Did you fight?" Qi thought for a while and asked. "No, I just came here, and they were the ones who fought." Shen Fei heard that this was a play and immediately said excitedly, "Well, then you should get out too and give the Shen family some face." Qi said. "Thank you, Qi. Thank you, Qi." Shen Fei hurriedly said, pulling Tang Wan and hurriedly walked towards Yu Hao. "Stop." Qi's cold voice came. Shen Fei looked at Qi in confusion. "Didn't he let him go? What's going on?" "I said let you go, but I didn't say let her go." Qi pointed at Tang Wan and sneered. "Ah!" Tang Wan exclaimed, trying to pull Shen Fei and hide behind him. "Qi, she is my girlfriend," Shen Fei said with a trembling tone. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? I'm already giving you face by letting you go. You're a collateral family member. Don't be shameless. If you keep talking nonsense, you won't be able to leave either." Qi said viciously. "Qi, please, let her go," Shen Fei begged. "Don't worry, you can come and pick her up tomorrow morning, or you can watch her play with my brothers." Qi laughed, and the fat on his face trembled. Shen Fei stood there in a daze, with 1,000 beasts running in his heart, but he was powerless. He didn't dare to look at Tang Wan, lowered his head, and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Shen Fei, Tang Wan cried, and was pulled aside by several young people. She was so depressed at the moment that she didn't dare to think about what would happen next. Wang Zuman closed her eyes and hid behind Ju Hao. She didn't dare to help her bestie, nor did she dare to look. She could imagine Tang Wan's miserable end. Their friendship was completely broken from today. Chu Xiaotu was also a little anxious at this time. Why didn't the boss take action? She pulled Su Weifeng's arm. Why are you also a young master from a certain family? Qi said to Su Weifeng with a smile, his tone full of sarcasm. It doesn't matter which young master it is. I will have a good time with these two women, but you won't be so lucky. Ha ha ha. Qi laughed wildly. Are you done? Su Weifeng said coldly. A group of people looked at Su Weifeng like a fool. Is this kid stupid? He dared to talk to Qi like this. Shen Fei and others looked at him like an idiot. He just came to K country and didn't know much about this place. He didn't know how cruel the underworld here was. They really knew how to kill people, but no one dared to say anything. He was thankful that he could escape today. He couldn't care about others anymore. Are you looking for death? Qi's fat face trembled with anger. It had been a long time since anyone dared to talk to him like this. I'll give you a chance. Cut off your legs now, and I'll spare your life. Su Weifeng said softly, which was particularly penetrating in this noisy bar. Everyone present could hear it clearly. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded. If it was said by Qi, everyone would think it was normal. But when it came out of Su Weifeng's mouth, why did it feel so awkward? It was like a mouse trying to catch a cat. Haha, kid, I think you are crazy. There is a price to pay for being fearless. Qi sneered, and the expression on his face became more and more gloomy. It seems that you don't cherish this opportunity. Su Weifeng shook his head and sighed. Before Qi could react, Su Weifeng had already moved and kicked Qi in the chest, kicking Qi directly out. Qi flew 7 or 8 meters before landing on the ground, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. He knew that his ribs must have been broken, and he was in excruciating pain. How dare you, kid? Seeing their boss being kicked away, several young men rushed towards Su Weifeng. They didn't think that this man was someone they could beat. The fat and big-eared Qi weighed at least 200 pounds, but he was kicked 7 or 8 meters away. How could he be an ordinary person? Chapter 867 Crazy Daffy. 10 seconds later, all of Qi's men were lying on the ground. Only the skinny young man who had been there at the beginning escaped. His nickname was Mouse. He was very quick to react. He quietly escaped after Qi was kicked away. He immediately judged that this man was not an ordinary person. He would be killed in seconds if he went up. Husband, you are still the best. Chu Xiaotu excitedly pulled Su Weifeng's arm and said with a smile. The man in front of Qi stood up and leaned against the wall to stand. He covered his chest, and there was blood on the corner of his mouth. His fat face was twitching in pain. He looked at Su Weifeng with a vicious look. Shen Fei looked at Su Weifeng in surprise. It turned out that he was so good at fighting. This was a group of people, and no one could survive a single blow. If he had known this, he would not have admitted his defeat. Yu Hao also stared at Su Weifeng in a daze. Is this still a human being? Even the Sanda King has never heard of anyone who can fight 7 or 8 people at once, and he will fly away when he is it. Is this Superman or the Hulk? Suddenly, he thought, could it be that Shen Zhao and the others are afraid of Su Weifeng because of this? The more he thought about it, the more it seemed to be the case. A few young people really can't deal with Su Weifeng. Wang Zuman opened her mouth wide for a long time and couldn't close it. She looked at Su Weifeng as if she didn't recognize him. Is this still her elementary school classmate? Too manly, exuding male hormones all over her body. I really want to have a one-night stand with him. Only Tang Wan's face was a little dull. Although she was saved, she didn't have much joy in her heart. She felt more bitter and sad. Her boyfriend abandoned her. When she was in the most dangerous time, he chose to protect her and abandoned her. All her hopes were shattered. She no longer believed in him or men. Wanna, it's okay, it's okay. Shen Fei ran over to comfort Tang Wan. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. We are done. Tang Wan said firmly. I'm sorry Wana, I really have no choice. I have no choice. Shen Fei cried. He also knew that he shouldn't have given up Tang Wan at that time, but he really didn't have the courage to resist Qi at that time. It's all your fault. Since you are so good at fighting, why didn't you make a move earlier? You did it on purpose. Shen Fei shouted loudly. He vented all his anger on this man. This man hit him again and again. He could beat them. Why didn't he make a move? Yu Hao wanted to say something, but finally didn't say it out loud, secretly cursing Shen Fei. This idiot. What's the point of saying this now? If you piss off Su Weifeng, he will beat you up too. I'll only say this once. Shut up. Su Weifeng said with a cold face, word by word. Su Weifeng had been sneering at Shen Fei since the first time he met him. Now that he had saved his girlfriend, he was still looking for trouble with him. Previously, he had ignored him for Tang Wan's sake and didn't want to make things too awkward, but now he felt that this kind of man was not worthy of being treated as a man. Shen Fei was also overwhelmed by anger just now. Seeing Su Weifeng angry, he immediately dared not speak again. He still looked at Su Weifeng fiercely, but he didn't dare to say a word. Let's go. Su Weifeng pulled Chu Xiao too and prepared to leave. You want to leave after beating me? Can you leave? Qi leaned against the wall, blood still flowing from the corner of his mouth as he spoke. I want to leave and no one can stop me. Su Weifeng said domineeringly. Ha 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 ha. Do you think there is no one in my beast gang? You are dead. You all have to die. Qi wanted to shout loudly to vent his anger, but the pain in his chest made him unable to shout. Hurry up. Yu Hao seemed to suddenly think of something and shouted loudly. No need to leave. It's too late. Su Weifeng said with a smile, without a trace of panic on his face. Suddenly, more than 30 people rushed in from outside the bar, holding machetes in their hands, and rushed in with murderous intent. The guests in the bar knew that something was wrong and fled outside. Some brave people hid far away to watch the excitement, wanting to see what happened. Seeing so many people coming in, Shen Fei and Yu Hao were panicked. If there was still a hope of reconciliation just now it was a fight to the death. The bar owner and important figure of the beast gang, Qi, was beaten like this, and half of his life was gone. How could these people let them go? I'm afraid that even they would be implicated. Brother Daffei, Qi called out with difficulty. A man with a full beard walked out of the crowd. He had long Roxinger-style hair on his head, and it was unknown how long he hadn't washed it. He shook his head and walked to Qi's side, looked at him, and shook his head again. Damn, who beat you up like this, you useless piece of shit? The bearded man slapped Qi again. Qi had just barely stood up and could only stand against the wall, but this slap knocked him down again. Shen Fei's heart was pounding. Is this the legendary Daffei, the boss of the university town bar street? It is said that, if you want to open a bar here, you must get Daffei's approval first, otherwise, no matter what your relationship is, you can't open a bar here. This Daffei is even more fierce than the legend. He beats his own people. Seeing Qi was half dead, he still had the heart to do it. Yu Hao was also unsure. If he had some face in front of Qi, and could protect himself in front of him, then he had no face in front of Daffei. Moreover, it was said that Daffei was always crazy. It didn't matter to him whether he was from a family or not. He dared to bury alive anyone who offended him, even if they were from his family. As for whether he would be retaliated against later, he didn't consider it at all. This Daffei brother is a lunatic. Most people don't want to offend him. Everyone in the family has to give him face. Who dares to go against a mental patient? It would be so unfair to die. Wang Zuman and Tang Wan looked at Daffei brother who was walking towards them in horror. Their teeth were trembling. They knew that Su Weifeng could no longer save them. He couldn't even save himself. Su Weifeng was very good at fighting 7 or 8 people, but there were 34 people, all holding machetes. Su Weifeng didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. What could he use to fight so many people? There was only one way to die. You are very good. You can beat so many trash. Not bad. Daffei brother shook his head and clapped his hands as he walked. Daffei brother, I'm from the Yu family. Yu Hao was about to speak, hoping that Daffei would be afraid of the Yu family and let him go. Now he didn't expect to let them all go. As long as he and Wang Zuman were released, it would be fine. As for classmates, he could only wish for good luck. Before he could finish his words, Brother Daffy kicked Yu Heo to the ground. Yu Heo looked at Brother Daffy in horror. "I'm from the Yu family," Yu Heo shouted hurriedly. Brother Daffy raised his big feet and kicked Yu Heo in the face, causing his nose to bleed. Yu Heo covered his nose and tears came down. It was so painful. "Fuck you, your mother. I hate it most when people mention family to me." Brother Daffy wiped his hair that was almost stuck together and said disdainfully, "Seventh Master is getting more and more useless. You little brats can't even deal with him. I really should thank you for reminding me to change people. However, those who beat me should be prepared to die." Brother Daffy stretched his neck and said, "Chapter 868 I won't kill you today. Really? That's what I want to say." Su Weifeng smiled faintly, but his eyes became colder. "Boy, you're good. If it were any other big boss, he would want to take you under his wing. But unfortunately, you met me. I don't have the habit of smiling after being slapped in the face. Boy, you're done." Brother Daffy said. "He beat them up. It has nothing to do with us," Yu Heo said in horror. He knew that Brother Daffy could do anything. Now he didn't care about face. He just wanted to escape from this bar as soon as possible. "Yes, it was this kid who beat Qi and the others down. It has nothing to do with us," Shen Fei also said in horror. Tang Wan and Wang Zuman were already pale and speechless. "Boy, are they right? You beat them up?" Daffy said with an evil smile. "Yes, I beat them all," Su Weifeng said calmly, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. "Boy, you really impressed me. It's nothing to beat up the losers Aoki, but you beat up so many people by yourself?" Brother Daffy said with some disbelief. He thought someone was helping him just now, but now he saw that the two boys were just cowards and could not help at all, so this boy was the only one left. "Do you need a few more people to beat down these losers? You think too highly of them," Su Weifeng said disdainfully. Brother Daffy's face was gloomy. This boy obviously looked down on his subordinates, which meant he looked down on himself. He was arrogant, even more arrogant than himself. "Boy, you are very brave. I have decided not to take your life. I'm going to beat you up today. Let's see if you are still so tough when you are lying at my feet," Brother Daffy said with a sinister smile. Chu Xiaotu was also very nervous when she saw so many tattooed men holding long knives. This was not just 10 or 8, but dozens of them. She no longer had the confidence she had just now, but she still stood firmly with Su Weifeng, holding her mini electric baton tightly in her hand, with her finger on the switch button, ready to fight at any time. Su Weifeng was amused to see Chu Xiaotu's nervousness. He touched Chu Xiaotu's head and felt the heat from Su Weifeng's big hand. Chu Xiaotu didn't seem to be so nervous anymore. He touched his jade bracelet and suddenly felt that it would be a good thing to die with the boss. "Boy, although I won't let you go, I think highly of you. You are a man who dares to do what you do. Today I'm going to let your girlfriend go. No one will touch her hair. If anyone dares to touch this little girl, I'll break her claws. Do you hear me?" Daffy shouted loudly. The men around him responded quickly. "We can go now." "That's great." Shen Fei was so scared that tears were about to come out and suddenly said excitedly. Shen Fei said as he pulled Tang Wan to go out. Tang Wan dodged Shen Fei's hand with disgust and looked at him with disdain. Yu Heo said nothing, but his feet did not stop and he moved towards the door carefully. "Stop, did I let you go?" Brother Daffy sneered, his tone full of disdain. "Ah, not to say." Shen Fei's heart suddenly tightened again. "I said to let this little girl go. Who are you? Disloyal trash." Brother Daffy shouted coldly. "Little girl, go." Brother Daffy said to Chu Xiaotu. Su Weifeng looked at Chu Xiaotu with a smile, waiting for her to leave first, so that he would not have to worry about anything, and could let go and do it. "I won't leave. I want to be with my husband, even if I die." Chu Xiaotu's voice was a little trembling, but she said very firmly. Su Weifeng felt warm in his heart. This silly girl actually chose to die with him. She must be very scared in her heart, but it was really rare to have such a choice. Chu Xiaotu's performance really touched Su Weifeng. "Ha ha ha ha, there is such a silly woman. Boy, you are lucky." If you hadn't provoked me, I really wanted to take you as my subordinate. But this is impossible. Your fate is already determined. Brother Daffy laughed and said, because of you, I decided not to kill you today. Su Weifeng said with a sneer. Do it. Brother Daffy suddenly took a step back and shouted loudly at the same time. In this situation, he didn't need to do it himself. Stop. A voice louder than Brother Daffy rang out. These men who were about to take action looked at Brother Daffy blankly and then looked at the direction of the door where the voice came from. I saw a muscular man walking in with two young men, looking at these people with cold eyes. Brother Heyo, why are you here? When Brother Daffy saw the newcomer, he had a bad feeling in his heart. He seemed crazy, but he was not stupid. Otherwise, a fool would not be able to get to the position of a big boss in the university town. This person is our Heyo, the personal bodyguard of the Beast King Wang Xiang. His status in the Beast Gang is second only to Xiang Yi. He is not someone that Brother Daffy can afford to offend. Mr. Su, are you okay? Our Heyo said respectfully. Chuzaro too. Who is this? I don't know him. Is he also a friend of the boss? Shenfei. Is this Su Weifeng's helper? It's a pity that there are too few people. How can these three people compete with dozens of gangsters with machetes? It's over. Why am I so unlucky today? I want to go back to China. I must go back to China. You Heyo. That person seems familiar. Brother Heyo? Could it be Tang Wan? Let's die together. It's better if we all die. Wang Zuman. Can this person save us? He looks very familiar with Su Weifeng. He must save us. Brother Daffy. What's going on? Brother Heyo is so polite to this kid. I'm in trouble today. It's you. What do you want to see me for? Su Weifeng looked at our Heyo coldly, not taking him seriously at all. Brother Daffy was even more panicked. What's going on? He had to be respectful when he saw Brother Heyo. This kid's attitude towards Brother Heyo was too disrespectful. Did I underestimate this kid? He is not Brother Heyo's friend, but a more powerful person than Brother Heyo? How is it possible? I must be overthinking. At this time, Master Qi did not dare to get up at all and was still lying on the ground. Just now, Brother Daffy came and beat him up. He had just recovered a little bit, but how could Brother Heyo come? Although Brother Heyo did not know Master Qi, how could Master Qi not know Brother Heyo? This was a big boss who was bigger than his own boss. And seeing how polite Brother Heyo was I dazzled? Mr. Su, Brother Xiang wanted to invite you to the Oriental Hotel tomorrow night to apologize to you in person. Our Heyo said politely, fearing that he would make this master unhappy. Brother Daffy's heart was beating wildly. What was going on? Brother Xiang was treating him, or was he apologizing? Who was this kid? How could this be possible? Did I hear it wrong? But seeing that his younger brothers were all staring with their eyes wide open and their mouths open, it should be right. He got into trouble today and offended someone he shouldn't have offended. Daffy, who had figured it out, almost fell to the ground. Qi was already badly injured, and when he heard that the guy who hurt him was the one that Xiang had to apologize to, he was so angry that he fainted. You Heyo. Xiang guy? Xiang guy. Isn't he the boss of Chinatown? Does he still have someone to apologize to? Even my own new family in Galan can't compare to Xiang guy. To be more precise, there is no comparison. Chapter 869, Hangman Banquet. Shen Fei now realized who the Xiang Yi they were talking about was. Xiang Yi's power was in Chinatown. Who among these people didn't know Xiang Yi's name? He was a man who would shake the gallons of water 3 times if he stomped his feet. He actually invited Tang Wan's classmates to dinner and apologized. Shen Fei swallowed his saliva subconsciously and choked himself. Who is he? Who is he? This kid should be an ordinary person. I'm the social elite, the pride of heaven. How can he be better than me? This is impossible. This is impossible. Tang Wan and Wang Zuman looked at Su Weifeng blankly. Their old classmate became more and more mysterious. Not only was he good at fighting, but his identity and background were so strong that they dared not believe it. Chuziro too also looked at her boss with a surprised face. Does the boss know the big boss in Chinatown? That's a legend. Is the boss also mixed in the underworld? People in the underworld are very bad. Will the boss do something to me? Thinking of this, she became a little nervous again. Xiang Yi invited me to dinner. It won't be a hangman banquet. Su Weifeng said disdainfully. He didn't have a good impression of this Xiang Yi. No, Mr. Xiang really wants to apologize to Mr. Su. Please do me a favor. Ah Heo immediately said nervously after hearing Su Weifeng's words, fearing that Su Weifeng had misunderstood. Okay, then I'll go and have a meal. Su Weifeng said casually, and he was also curious about why Mr. Xiang invited him. It was not as simple as keeping in touch. Ah Heo was overjoyed when he saw Su Weifeng agreed. He didn't expect Su Weifeng to agree so readily. The time is 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Oriental Hotel. Mr. Su must be there. Ah Heo said again. Su Weifeng nodded, which was considered an agreement. At this moment, Ah Heo remembered that Brother Daphne had made such a big fuss to deal with Mr. Su. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He was just thinking about how to invite Su Weifeng to the banquet and forgot about this matter. If Mr. Su took his anger out on himself and Brother Xiang because of Brother Daphne, it would be in trouble. The smiling expression just now disappeared immediately, and he became the ruthless Brother Heo again, looking at Brother Daphne coldly. If eyes could kill, Brother Daphne would have died countless times. Have you offended Mr. Su? Ah Heo said to Daphne viciously. Brother Heo, I don't know Mr. Su's identity. If I knew, I wouldn't dare. Brother Daphne smiled bitterly. He really hated Xiaoqi. He was really a traitor. I will report to Master Xiang. You will get Master Xiang's wrath. Ah Heo said coldly. Our Brother Daphne felt cold in his heart. He felt that he was finished. He was finished inexplicably. He was unwilling to accept it. Mr. Su, I'm really sorry that we didn't manage our people well. I will report to Mr. Xiang immediately and will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. Ah Heo said to Su Weifeng respectfully. This man is interesting. Break his leg. I told you that I won't kill you for what you said. Su Weifeng said calmly. Why don't you thank Mr. Su? Ah Heo stared at Daphne. Daphne also reacted and hurriedly thanked Su Weifeng. He knew that his life was saved. No matter who Mr. Su was, he had no intention of revenge. If he wanted to live longer, there was one bottom line: don't offend people you can't afford to offend. Daphne was also a man. He took a steel pipe from the hand of someone next to him and hit his leg hard. With a crisp sound, everyone knew that the leg bone must be broken. Daphne gritted his teeth and didn't groan, but sweat had already come down on his face. Su Weifeng nodded secretly when he saw Daphne's performance. He was a man. He was a soldier. He respected all men, even opponents. Daphne had been recognized by him. That was why Su Weifeng only broke one leg. Ah Heo was also very satisfied with Daphne's performance. He nodded. The matter was over. Su Weifeng took Chu Xiaotu's hand and walked out the door as if no one was around. Everyone saluted along the way. Shen Fei and others stared at them in a daze. They felt that so many things happened today as if they were a dream, and Su Weifeng was even more of a mystery. Tang Wan looked at Shen Fei coldly, then looked at Su Weifeng, feeling bitter in her heart. How could men be so different from each other? Compared with Su Weifeng, her boyfriend was worse than a dog. She and her boyfriend laughed at Su Weifeng together. I think Su Weifeng didn't take his ridicule seriously at that time. How could a man of his level care about our attitude? Wang Zuman was confused. She thought she had found the best son-in-law, but she found out that the best one had been by her side since she was a child. Compared with this man, her son-in-law was crushed in every aspect and was not on the same level at all. Boss, what if that Heo doesn't come? Will we die? Chu Xiaotu whispered while driving. What happened today really scared her. You can't die, even if you want to with me here. Su Weifeng touched Chu Xiaotu's hair and said, stop bragging. How can you beat so many people? I thought I was going to die. Chu Xiaotu laughed, obviously unconvinced. You know you're going to die, but you still don't leave. Are you still waiting to die? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Boss, I won't leave either. If you want to die, I'll die with you. Chu Xiaotu said lightly. Su Weifeng felt warm in his heart. It would be a lie to say that he was not moved. Such a beautiful woman is willing to die with you. Which man can remain indifferent? Are you moved? Chu Xiaotu suddenly smiled and looked at Su Weifeng. Yeah, I'm really touched. How about I marry you? Su Weifeng joked. TSK, I don't want that, pervert. Chu Xiaotu said disdainfully. Boss, who are you? Chu Xiaotu said, and it seemed like she was muttering to herself, with a mystery in her heart. I'm your boss, haha. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Humph. Chu Xiaotu was so angry that her boss didn't tell her the truth. Chu Xiaotu drove steadily all the way and finally drove back to the Oriental Hotel. After taking a shower, she was lying on the bed in her pajamas and preparing to go to sleep when Su Weifeng heard the sound of tiptoeing in the living room. Su Weifeng was alert at once. It was Chu Xiaotu who heard the footsteps. They had been together for a long time, and the footsteps were very familiar. What was she doing so late at night? The footsteps were getting closer and closer and stopped at Su Weifeng's door, and then there was no movement. Su Weifeng was wondering, and the door handle slowly turned. This was also because he didn't lock the door when he slept. He didn't need to lock the door when he was with Chu Xiaotu. But what was Chu Xiaotu doing, sneaking into my room in the middle of the night? Su Weifeng pretended to be asleep, closed his eyes, and listened carefully to the sounds outside. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 870 Sleeping with You. The door slowly opened a crack, and Chu Xiaotu poked her head in. Seeing that Su Weifeng had fallen asleep, she slowly squeezed in, and walked slowly to the bedside. Su Weifeng frowned slightly. Could it be that Chu Xiaotu was going to harm him? This shouldn't be the case. He wouldn't have made a mistake. Chu Xiaotu shouldn't have approached him for any purpose. Then he felt Chu Xiaotu put something beside him, and then lay down gently. Su Weifeng subconsciously opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Chu Xiaotu's big eyes that were blinking and looking at him. Chu Xiaotu's eyes suddenly widened, but her pupils suddenly shrank. Ah! Chu Xiaotu screamed and almost rolled to the ground. Su Weifeng was quick and hugged her back. Ah, let me go, pervert, help me. Chu Xiaotu screamed in fear and struggled desperately. Su Weifeng let go of his hand and looked at Chu Xiaotu with a smile. I should be the one who should be calling. This seems to be my bed. Su Weifeng said helplessly. Are you planning to take advantage of me while I'm asleep? Su Weifeng said deliberately. No, I didn't. Chu Xiaotu said like a child who had done something wrong, very unconfidently. I'm scared. As soon as I close my eyes, I see a scene of being surrounded by a group of people. Chu Xiaotu said embarrassedly. Su Weifeng thought so too. Today, Chu Xiaotu thought she would die. How could she not be afraid? Moreover, for a little girl like her who is still in school, her performance today is already very brave. When she is safe, she will indeed recall those scenes, and the fear deep in her heart will come out completely. It's okay, you are safe. I'm here, you will be fine. Su Weifeng touched Chu Xiaotu's head and comforted her with a smile. Chu Xiaotu didn't know why, but when Su Weifeng touched her head, she was like a child who had been wronged and returned home. She couldn't bear it anymore. She hugged Su Weifeng and cried with a wow, trying to express all the grievances in her heart. Su Weifeng felt a little distressed when he saw Chu Xiaotu like this. He hugged her gently and patted her back. Chu Xiaotu cried for a long time before she slowly stopped crying. But suddenly she found that she was hugging the boss. She screamed and pushed Su Weifeng away. Her face was already red. Fortunately, there was no light in the room, so the boss couldn't see it. If you are scared, sleep here tonight. Su Weifeng said to Chu Xiaotu softly. Since you are scared, I will sleep with you, but you are not allowed to touch me, otherwise I will let you see how powerful I am. Chu Xiaotu gritted her teeth and pretended to be fierce. Su Weifeng was really defeated by this little girl and touched her head. Sleep, Su Weifeng said and closed his eyes. Chu Xiaotu was a little nervous at first, staring at the boss with her eyes wide open. She was afraid that the boss would really do something to her, but after a long time, there was no movement from the boss, and his breathing became more even. Chuzaro was relieved and slowly closed her eyes with a slight smile on her lips. Su Weifeng felt very tired after sleeping that night. When he opened his eyes in the morning, he saw Chuzaro hugging him tightly, like an octopus, tying him tightly. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. I was wondering why I was so tired when I slept. It turned out that the root of the problem was here. Seeing that Chuzaro was sleeping soundly, Su Weifeng didn't move. He looked at Chuzaro quietly. Looking at Chuzaro from such a close distance, her fair skin, although without makeup, was still youthful and beautiful. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, as if she was dreaming. People couldn't help but feel pity. Su Weifeng suddenly had the urge to kiss this rosy little mouth. Su Weifeng was startled when he thought of it. He quickly controlled his true energy to suppress his desire. It seemed that he had been away from Lin Zhuangxuan and the others for too long. When he was close to such a beautiful and lovely girl, he instinctively had desire. Chuzaro suddenly woke up and was startled when she saw the boss so close to her face. But when she saw that it was the boss, she relaxed again and hugged Su Weifeng tightly again. She arched her head into Su Weifeng's arms, as if she was looking for a more comfortable position, and then her even breathing sounded again. After sleeping for a while, Chuzaro woke up and saw that she was hugging the boss tightly. She screamed and ran out with her pillow and quilt. She hid in her room. Her face was still hot for a while, but it was really comfortable to hug the boss just now. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but stick out her tongue. Su Weifeng smiled, got up and went to the bathroom to wash up. Chuzaro also came out of the room at this time. Did you sleep well last night? Su Weifeng asked with a smile. It was good. Chuzaro answered a little nervously. Next time you let me sleep with you, I will charge you. Su Weifeng said jokingly. Boss. Chuzaro stamped her feet in anger, and her embarrassed and angry look made Su Weifeng laugh. But the boss really didn't do anything bad. I was afraid to come here at first, but the boss doesn't seem to be as bad as I imagined. Chuzaro thought to herself. Since Su Weifeng had to attend an appointment with Xiang Yi in the evening, he couldn't go to the bar today, so he asked Chuzaro to say hello to Mo Fei. By the way, the car keys are on the table. You can drive to work by yourself and practice your driving skills. Su Weifeng suddenly said to Chuzaro. He admired Chuzaro's driving skills. The speed was 20 miles per hour, which was really exciting. He really needed her to practice. If she really needed to drive, it would be a life-threatening thing. It was probably not much faster than walking. Boss, you really let me drive the car? Chuzaro said in surprise. She liked this X7 too much. It turned out that her favorite was X5, but because X7 was too expensive, she didn't dare to think about it. Now there is X7 for her to drive, and she is so happy that she wants to jump up. Drive it, you still need to practice your level. Su Weifeng said seriously. If there is something you still need to rely on you. When Chuzaro heard that she could drive, she went out at noon in excitement. She didn't know where she went to race. She hoped to be back to the bar before work. The bar was open in the evening, and Chuzaro drove the X7 steadily and parked it at the door of the bar. The boss lady's car is so cool. The boss is so good to you. Xian, the new waitress, was sweeping the floor at the door. When she saw Chuzaro getting out of the car, she said enviously, I told you that you are not the boss lady anymore. Chuzaro explained, but she was still a little proud in her heart. If the boss lady doesn't want the boss, then I will chase the boss. The boss is so handsome, young and rich. Xian said deliberately. You dare? Chuzaro stared and said subconsciously. Haha, the boss lady is joking, how dare I? Xian said with a smile. Chuzaro thought, you only know that the boss is young and rich. Do you know how powerful the boss's background is? Even the boss of Chinatown had to hold a banquet to apologize to him. Do you know how good the boss is at fighting? Dozens of people stood in front of him, and he was not afraid at all. Chuzaro suddenly found that the boss's shadow was already in her heart. Yes, where can she find such a perfect man? Those celebrities in her school, the rich second generation, the school hunk, are not on the same level as the boss. He is so far behind them. I must have fallen in love with the boss, but he is my boss. How can I be with the boss? She felt a little flustered when she thought about it. Chapter 871 The Enemy Returns. At night, when Su Weifeng went downstairs from the noble room to the lobby, he saw Ah Heo waiting there. When he saw Su Weifeng coming down, he hurriedly came up with a few men to greet him. Seeing Brother Heo's smiling face, these men were as surprised as if they had seen a ghost. Is this the Brother Heo they know? Brother Heo can actually smile? Of course, they only dared to think about it in their hearts. Mr. Su, you are really here. That's great. Xiang Yi is already waiting for you in the private room. Originally, Xiang Yi wanted to greet you in person, but there are too many people who know Xiang Yi. I'm afraid of causing unnecessary trouble, so Xiang Yi is waiting for you in the private room. Ah Heo smiled ingratiatingly, afraid that Su Weifeng would misunderstand that this is a great master, and his background is not bad. Su Weifeng smiled and nodded, which was considered a greeting. He was not interested in chatting with this gangster. He came to the banquet today just to see what these people were going to do. Following Ah Heo to the private room, Xiang Yi had been waiting there for a long time. When he saw Su Weifeng, he immediately stood up and greeted Su Weifeng with a big smile on his face. He held Su Weifeng's hand tightly, which made Su Weifeng have goosebumps. He thought to himself, how could this be related to Ajax so abnormal? Could he have that kind of hobby? Thinking about it, his back felt cold, and he quickly pulled his hand back. Su Weifeng, Ah Heo and Xiang Yi sat at the table respectively. The rest of the brothers had no right to sit at the same table with Xiang Yi, so they all stood behind Xiang Yi. What do you want from me, Xiang Yi? Do you want revenge? Su Weifeng looked at Xiang Yi with a playful look. Mr. Su, don't joke. How dare I? I came here to apologize to Mr. Su today. I hope Mr. Su can forgive us for what we did before. Xiang Yi said to Su Weifeng politely. Master Xiang is not here just to apologize this time, right? He must have something else to talk to me about. Haha, I can't hide it from Mr. Su. Master Xiang said with a hearty smile. Su Weifeng didn't say anything either, just looked at Master Xiang quietly, waiting for his next words. I have indeed encountered some problems recently, and I hope Mr. Su can help me. Master Xiang's face became serious, and he said to Su Weifeng seriously. What is it? Just tell me directly. Su Weifeng said directly. You wait at the door. No one is allowed to come in without my order. Master Xiang said coldly to the younger brothers behind him. Master Xiang's younger brothers listened to the boss's order and immediately filed out and closed the door. What secret is this? Su Weifeng thought to himself. Mr. Su knows Master Ajax, so we are a family, and I won't hide it from you. Master Xiang said with a wry smile. Su Weifeng still didn't say anything, waiting for Master Xiang to continue. When I was young, before I got to my current position, I had an enemy. I almost killed him at that station, but he still ran away. Just a few days ago, this enemy came back, and I don't know how he trained, but his skills are very good. He has injured many of my men and smashed several places. Even Ah Heo is not his opponent. Xiang Yi said bitterly. He has said that, if I don't show up, he will smash one by one, and will definitely destroy all my places, but I can't show up. His target is me, and his purpose is to kill me. He is forcing me to show up. As long as I show up, he will definitely kill me. Xiang Yi said with a fearful expression. Then what's the point of Xiang Yi looking for me? You should find the police. Su Weifeng said with narrowed eyes, and he already had a guess in his mind. If he came back to fight for my territory, or wanted to develop in Galan, I have plenty of ways to deal with him. But he is not after money. He smashed so many of my places before and only hurt people, not for money. This is difficult to deal with. Moreover, he has a background behind him. The police can't do anything to him. Even if the police are willing to catch him, it's useless. These ordinary police can't catch him at all. My brothers, dozens of them, surrounded him, and they were all knocked down by him. That's why I thought of Mr. Su. Mr. Su is very good at martial arts. He will definitely be able to defeat him. Please save me, Mr. Su. Xiang Yi looked at Su Weifeng eagerly and said expectantly. Is this man's martial arts so strong? Su Weifeng said in surprise. There are many masters who can beat several people alone, but it is a bit exaggerated to be able to beat dozens of people. He can do it himself, but he has never met someone with his strength. Could he also come from those ancient martial arts families or hidden families? Su Weifeng couldn't help but become curious. I fought him, and I couldn't even take a single punch from him. Ah Heo said somewhat embarrassedly. As the top fighter under Zhang Yi, he had always been hard to beat, but recently he encountered opponents he couldn't contend with one after another. First it was Su Weifeng, and then it was Zhang Yi's enemy, and they were all killed instantly. They didn't even have a chance to fight back. Their strengths were totally different. You don't seem to be injured. Is this guy really that powerful? Su Weifeng looked at Ah Heo, who didn't have any obvious injuries on his body, and couldn't help but wonder. At that time, I was in a bar of Zhang Yi, and I besieged that man with a group of younger brothers. He probably just thought I was an ordinary younger brother. After knocking me down with one punch, he didn't care about me anymore. Ah Heo recalled the scene at that time, and felt humiliated in his heart. He hadn't felt ignored for a long time. It's quite interesting. As a warrior, Su Weifeng also likes to fight with strong people. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little moved. Moreover, if that person is also a member of the inner boxing lineage, he can also learn about the level of the inner boxing warriors through him, which is still very beneficial to him. The day after tomorrow, I have an appointment with him to fight by the river in the suburbs. I also ask Mr. Su to go and help. If Mr. Su helps me, I will give him 1 million as a thank you gift. Seeing that Su Weifeng was somewhat interested, Zhang Yi hurriedly said, while the iron was hot. Okay, then I'll go. Su Weifeng readily agreed. This little money doesn't matter. Su Weifeng really doesn't care about it, but he is still very interested in seeing this kind of inner boxing warrior. Mr. Su is really straightforward. Let me toast Mr. Su and wish Mr. Su success. Zhang Yi was very excited and invited another master. He raised his glass and toasted enthusiastically. Su Weifeng knew that this Zhang Yi must have found more than just him. With his cautious character, he must have found other warriors. Maybe he was just a backup, but it didn't matter. He just wanted to see these warriors. The more he went, the better. It would be more convenient for him to understand the strength of these warriors. Mr. Su, please wait a moment. There will be a master coming over soon. It's a good opportunity to introduce him to you. Zhang Yi said with a smile. Oh, he is also a warrior. Su Weifeng became interested. Yes, he is also a master. Zhang Yi said excitedly, and he felt confident. Chapter 872 Master Huo. As they were talking, the sound of several people's footsteps came from the door. It sounded like there were 4 or 5 people. Soon, a group of people pushed open the door of the private room and walked in. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 40s, wearing a white training suit, with a shiny slicked back hair and a ruddy face. Behind him followed several young people, all wearing black training suits. Su Weifeng looked at the middle-aged man. This should be the master that Zhang Yi mentioned, but he didn't feel that he was very good. Oh, Master Huo, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you. Please take a seat. Zhang Yi stood up and said with a smile. After the middle-aged man sat down, the other young men in black stood behind the middle-aged man. They were not qualified to sit here. Mr. Su, let me introduce you. This is the master I just mentioned, Master Huo from Hua's Hang Martial Arts Hall, the #1 master in our Chinatown. Zhang Yi introduced to Su Weifeng with a smile. Nice to meet you. Su Weifeng wanted to stand up and shake hands with Master Huo out of politeness. Master Huo looked at Su Weifeng coldly and had no intention of getting up. His face was full of displeasure. Master Zhang, who is this? Could it be that he is also a martial artist you found? Master Huo said unhappily. Master Zhang was a little embarrassed. He knew that Su Weifeng could fight, but he was definitely not as good as Master Huo. Master Huo was the #1 master in Chinatown. It was said that he was a master with real internal strength. Su Weifeng was just a backup. He also had another purpose, which was to win over Su Weifeng and let him say something good to Master Ajax, so that the money spent would be worth it. Master Huo, this is Mr. Su, who is also a master. He once beat 10 people alone, and even Ah Heo was not his opponent. Master Zhang said hurriedly. He couldn't afford to offend any of these two. Master Huo glanced at Aheo. He had also heard of Aheo, the #1 fighter under Master Zhang, but he was simply vulnerable in front of him. Master Huo snorted coldly, looking very disdainful. Aheo was also very dissatisfied. The look in Master Huo's eyes not only looked down on Mr. Su, but also looked down on himself. He was also angry, but he didn't dare to show it. This was the boss's guest and he didn't dare to offend him. He really couldn't beat him. Heroes are born young. Master Huo sneered, and anyone could hear the sarcasm in his words. Master Zhang, you asked a young boy to sit with me. Do you think I'm on the same level as him? Master Huo said to Master Zhang in a cold voice. Master Huo, what are you talking about? Although Mr. Su is strong, he is not Master Huo's opponent. Master Huo is the #1 master in our Chinatown. With Master Huo and those Western boxing gyms, karate gyms, etc., which one dares to open in our Chinatown? I ask Mr. Su to come, because there is more strength in numbers. Beads of sweat appeared on Master Zhang's forehead. He had finally invited Master Huo. The main force in the future would be Mr. Huo, and he would also rely on him. If Mr. Huo got angry and ignored him, he would have no place to cry. Of course, he didn't dare to offend Mr. Su, and tried his best to appease both sides. It seems that you, Mr. Zhang, still don't know what an internal martial artist is. An internal martial artist doesn't rely on hard fists or great strength, but on internal strength. Such a martial artist cannot be dealt with by ordinary people, let alone by relying on numbers. Master Huo said seriously. What is an internal martial artist and internal strength? Isn't that what they say in TV dramas? Mr. Zhang said in surprise. That person has internal strength? Aheo was also surprised. Oh, you know an internal martial artist? Master Huo looked at Aheo in surprise. I once heard my master say that martial arts are divided into internal and external. The current fighting techniques are all external skills, and internal skills have almost been lost. Only some hidden families can have them. As long as an internal martial artist appears, he will be invincible in the world. Aheo recalled his master's words. Is it really that powerful, invincible in the world? Mr. Zhang stared. Obviously this statement overturned his cognition. Haha, the best in the world is a bit exaggerated, but martial artists who have cultivated internal strength are indeed not something that external martial artists can deal with, and internal martial artists are really like those on TV. They can walk high and lightly float on water. Master Huo said with a smile. Hearing Aheo's praise for internal martial arts, he was also very proud. So powerful, then this Zhang Yi's enemy is also an internal martial artist? Su Weifeng asked curiously. Of course, listening to Zhang Yi's description and the battle situation of the man in the surveillance, he is undoubtedly an internal martial artist. The only one who can deal with a martial artist with internal strength is a martial artist with the same internal strength. Master Huo said with a serious face. Then Master Huo, can you deal with this man? Hearing that this enemy is so powerful, just like the characters on TV, Zhang Yi is also a little unsure. Haha, my internal strength is about to be perfected. I think it will be no problem to deal with this person. Otherwise why would I come here? Master Huo said with a proud smile. Master Zhang's eyes lit up, and he was overjoyed. Seeing Master Huo so confident, he felt relieved, and became more respectful to Master Huo. What is internal force? Do you spread it all over your body during a fight? Su Weifeng asked. He wanted to take this opportunity to learn more about how these internal martial arts practitioners use their internal force. Spreading internal force all over your body is not something that ordinary internal martial artists can do. You have to be at the Zuan level to have such a strong internal force, and I'm still one step away from the Zuan level. Master Huo said proudly. What level is this Zuan level? Master Zhang was confused and said puzzled. Let me popularize the knowledge of martial artists for you. Ordinary people don't have the opportunity to get in touch with these. Master Huo said mysteriously. Everyone in the room pricked up their ears, fearing that they would say something. This was something that ordinary people didn't know. Su Weifeng's mouth corners slightly raised. He had heard about this from old Han. It was nothing more than some heaven and earth Zuanhuang, so he was not too curious. Sure enough, Master Huo began to introduce, and what he said was similar to that of old Han. Warriors are roughly divided into 4 levels: Heaven level, Earth level, Mysterious level, and Yellow level, and those below the Yellow level are inferior warriors. So how big is the difference in strength between warriors of each level? Aheo asked curiously. He had heard some of what his master said, but he only had a vague understanding. Master Huo did not answer directly, but slowly pressed his hand on the solid wood table. He did not see how much force he used. When he raised his palm again, everyone in the room could not help but take a breath of cold air. On the solid wood table, a clear outline of a palm appeared, penetrating into the wood, and the palm lines were clearly visible. Su Weifeng still smiled slightly. He could do what Master Huo did, and there was nothing to be surprised about. This is the strength of a yellow level warrior. Master Huo said slowly. Chapter 873 Shield. Are yellow level warriors so strong? Xiang Yi said slowly, not yet recovered from the shock. Yellow level warriors can only use internal force to a part of the body, while Zuan level warriors are the peak of internal force, and can spread internal force all over the body. If Zuan level warriors meet yellow level warriors, they will be killed instantly. Master Huo said coldly. Then Master Huo, you just said that you are 1 step away from Zuan level warriors? Xiang Yi suddenly thought of what Master Huo said just now, and said in confusion. Yes, I'm half a step to Zuan level warriors, which is the peak of yellow level warriors. I'm invincible below Zuan level warriors. Master Huo said word by word with confidence. And your enemy was not so strong before he escaped from Galan, otherwise he would not have escaped. He should not have cultivated internal force at that time. According to the time, he had just cultivated internal force, and was a yellow level warrior who had just entered the door. It is as easy for me to deal with him as killing a chicken. Mr. Huo continued. Don't worry, Mr. Huo, as long as you kill that man, I will double your reward. Xiang Yi said happily with a bottom line in his heart. Su Weifeng knew that Master Huo's remuneration must be much higher than his own, but he didn't care. He would go, even if he didn't get paid. This was a rare opportunity for him. Thank you, Mr. Huo. After a while of greeting, Mr. Huo took his apprentices away, and didn't stay for dinner. As for Su Weifeng, a young man, Mr. Huo didn't care. If Mr. Xiang was willing to take him, he would take him. The money was in place, which was better than anything else. Su Weifeng didn't eat either. He said hello to Mr. Xiang and left. This Master Huo was at the peak of the Huang level, while Mr. Han was at the Zuan level, which was much worse than Mr. Han. Su Weifeng couldn't help but shook his head. He really didn't care about warriors of this level, but he heard more news today, which was already very rewarding. Su Weifeng looked at the time. It was still early, so he slowly walked towards the Beast Bar. He hadn't been there for many days, so he went to see if there was anything going on. As soon as I arrived at the bar, I saw a familiar figure, Xiaobing. This iceberg beauty still had a gloomy face, and next to her was a young man in a high-end suit, who was talking to him attentively. However, Xiaobing looked like she was not interested, and the ice on her face still showed no sign of melting. Xiaobing, there is no one in Jialan that I, Wang Zhengtai, can't afford to offend. I promise that no one will dare to offend you when you are with me in the future, the young man said with a proud look on his face. Sorry, Mr. Wang, I already have a boyfriend, Xiaobing said coldly. This Wang Zhengtai is from the Wang family of Jialan, a local snake family. Although it is not a top family, it has been very powerful after entrenched here for many years. This is a friend introduced by her family. Wang Zhengtai and Xiaobing went to the same university, but he was 2 years older than her. It was said that they wanted to make more friends. Xiaobing knew that the Xia family actually wanted to use her for marriage, so that the Xia family could have the opportunity to develop in Jialan. However, Xiaobing didn't like this man. He was a famous playboy and a playboy. Due to the family's face, she had to agree to meet him today. Xiaobing, what are you kidding? I have investigated. You never had a boyfriend in college. You are still a virgin now. It's just right for you to be with me, Wang Zhengtai said with a smile. Xia Bing's face became even uglier. This young Master Wang actually investigated me, and I don't believe there is a better man than me in Galan. I will take you to see my villa tonight. It is decorated in pure English style, Wang Zhengtai said while pulling Xia Bing's hand. Xia Bing frowned and shook her hand away. She was angry. This young Master Wang wanted to sleep with her just when they met for the first time. She hated this man even more. Suddenly, Xia Bing saw Su Weifeng, who had just entered the bar. Her eyes lit up. She quickly got up and hugged Su Weifeng, who was walking over. Husband, why did you come to pick me up just now? Xia Bing smiled rarely on her face and hugged Su Weifeng excitedly. She was really happy to see Su Weifeng. She was just worried about not being able to get rid of Wang Xiao, but now she had a shield. Wang Zhengtai was so angry when he saw his woman hugging another man and calling him husband that his face turned green. He looked at the two of them gloomily. Xiao Bing, who is this? Wang Zhengtai said with a cold face. Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Su Weifeng. Husband, this is Wang Xiao from the Wang family, Xia Bing said with a smile while holding Su Weifeng's arm and pinched Su Weifeng's arm hard. Su Weifeng frowned in pain. This girl was too cruel. He had been pinched a lot since he got on the plane. If her martial arts skills were a little better, she would be a violent woman. However, he also understood Xia Bing's meaning in seconds. This was to let him be a shield. Su Weifeng nodded at Wang Xiao, which was considered a greeting. Boy, do you know who I am? You dare to snatch my woman? You must be tired of living. Wang Xiao's face was so gloomy that water could drip out. He said hatefully, who are you, and what does it have to do with me? Su Weifeng said disdainfully. Xia Bing didn't expect Su Weifeng to be so tough. She just wanted to use Su Weifeng to get rid of this Wang Xiao and didn't want him to get into trouble because of her. She pinched Su Weifeng again, but Su Weifeng didn't react. Okay, very good. Who gave you the courage to talk to me like this? Wang Zhengtai said with a gloomy face. I've always been very courageous, Su Weifeng said disdainfully. Wang Xiao, I'm sorry, I already have a boyfriend, Xia Bing said, and hugged Su Weifeng again, which was considered a complete rejection of Wang Xiao. This is not giving face to our Wang family. Very good, Wang Xiao said. Tomorrow is Xia Bing's competition. I believe you will go to watch it? Wang Xiao suddenly laughed and said with a gloomy smile. Su Weifeng was confused for a while. How could he know what competitions Xia Bing had, piano or violin? But obviously he couldn't ask at this time. His identity was Xia Bing's boyfriend, and it would be abnormal if he didn't know. Of course I will go, Su Weifeng said with a smile. That's good, that's good. See you tomorrow. Young Master Wang smiled with his eyes narrowed and then walked straight out of the bar. Seeing Wang Zhengtai leave, Xia Bing quickly let go of Su Weifeng's arm and looked at Su Weifeng awkwardly. I'm sorry to trouble you, Xia Bing said. Do you have any competition tomorrow? Su Weifeng asked curiously. Well, tomorrow is our Taekwondo club's belt promotion assessment, and there will also be competitions. Tomorrow is my qualifying round, Xia Bing said with some pride. She was still very confident in her Taekwondo level, otherwise she would not have actively lured Su Weifeng to the bathroom on the plane, but she obviously underestimated this man. Su Weifeng was surprised at first. This was indeed very different from what he imagined, such as the piano, but thinking about Xia Bing, a violent girl, it was not surprising. Are you really going to watch my competition tomorrow? Xia Bing said with some doubts. Chapter 874, Bunny is a good girl. Of course, I have already promised that young Master Wang. A man must keep his word, Su Weifeng said with a smile. Alas, I shouldn't have used you as a shield. Xia Bing sighed and said. Huh? Is this young Master Wang very powerful? Su Weifeng said indifferently. Do you know the Wang family of Galan? Xia Bing said seriously. I don't know. Su Weifeng really had never heard of this name. This is a family native to Galan. It has been developed in Galan for several generations. The power is complicated. If you offend young Master Wang, they will not let you go. Xia Bing frowned and said, feeling very uneasy. She hadn't finished speaking yet, and she would not be let go. If it is such a powerful force, why did you leave just now? Shouldn't you call someone to beat me up, or even beat me to death and bury me? Su Weifeng said with a smile, not caring at all. You can still laugh. Xia Bing was a little annoyed. This man was too arrogant. Which family doesn't have blood on its hands? And there are so many people who disappear inexplicably every year. You are very good at fighting, but you can only deal with ordinary people. What if you encounter a real master martial artist? And this is not China. They have guns. Xia Bing said seriously. Su Weifeng couldn't help but frowned when he heard it. He had been on vacation for too long. His sense of crisis and vigilance had decreased in a peaceful environment. Yes, this is not China. Guns can be used here, but he is not afraid of these. Even if it is a top killer, Su Weifeng will not be afraid at all. Just be more vigilant at ordinary times. Wang Zhengtai asked you to watch my game. He must want to humiliate you in public. He himself is a black belt in Taekwondo, an absolute master. He will do everything he can to provoke you, let you accept his challenge, and then destroy you in front of everyone on the ring. He is not an ordinary gangster. It is said that he has been practicing Taekwondo since he was 5 years old, and it has been almost 20 years. Xia Bing had guessed Wang Dashao's plan and said nervously, hoping that Su Weifeng would retreat when he saw the difficulty. That's all? Su Weifeng asked with a smile. That's all? You haven't seen a master? He's not someone you can handle. I heard that he once bent a steel pipe with one kick. Don't go tomorrow. Stay away from him in the future. Xia Bing frowned and said. I just haven't seen Taekwondo before. It's good to go and see it. Su Weifeng said casually. Xia Bing was so angry that her teeth were itching. It was useless to say so much. This guy was too arrogant. She knew that it was useless to say more. This Su Weifeng would not listen or believe. She could only try to stop him tomorrow. She also had some status in the Taekwondo club. When she came forward, nothing should happen. Xia Bing was thinking about it when a beautiful girl from the bar came over. Boss, who is this? Chu Xiaota gritted her teeth and said in a bad tone. She saw the boss as soon as he came in. Before she could say hello, she saw the beautiful woman sitting here hugging the boss, looking very intimate. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Now that the man had left, she couldn't help but come over and say, this is a friend of mine. Su Weifeng said with a smile. He didn't notice Chu Xiaotu's expression. Is this the bar you opened? Xia Bing said in surprise. She didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. It was Su Weifeng's bar. Yes, it's mine. Su Weifeng said. Xia Bing looked at Chu Xiaota curiously. Since Su Weifeng was the boss here, why did this waiter speak to him so impolitely and in a questioning tone? She was very puzzled. Boss lady, another dozen beers. The guests next to her called out. They were all regular customers, and they knew Chu Xiaota. Wait a minute. Chu Xiaota said impatiently. The guests at that table poked their companions and gestured to Su Weifeng. The companion who had just spoken immediately understood what was going on. The boss lady asked the boss's people to be with another beautiful woman, and they were hugging each other just now. Wouldn't the boss lady be furious? Thinking of this, she shrank her neck. At this time, the woman was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and she couldn't touch bad luck. When Xia Bing heard the customer calling the waitress boss lady, she immediately understood why the waitress was so mean to Su Weifeng. This was Su Weifeng's girlfriend. Seeing that she and Su Weifeng were so close, how could she not get angry? Just when she wanted to explain, before she could speak, Chu Xiaota went back to get wine for the guests at that table. It seems that your girlfriend has misunderstood. Xia Bing said awkwardly. It's okay. Su Weifeng answered subconsciously, still thinking about his girlfriend. In a flash, he remembered that the girlfriend Xia Bing was talking about was not Chu Xiaota, and he couldn't help laughing, but he didn't explain anything, because he was not pursuing Xia Bing. Do you want me to explain it? Xia Bing said with some concern. It doesn't matter, Xiaota is not that stingy. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Xia Bing felt relieved when she heard Su Weifeng say this, but she felt uncomfortable in her heart, and she didn't know what was going on. After agreeing on a time with Su Weifeng, Xia Bing left first. Su Weifeng walked to the bar. Chu Xiaota hadn't come back yet and was still busy serving drinks to the guests. Only Mo Fei was at the bar at this time. Seeing Su Weifeng's hesitation to speak, he saw that he was about to speak. What's wrong with Fifi? Just tell me if you have anything to say. It's okay if you want a raise. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Now the performance of the bar is getting better and better. Mo Fei has made great contributions. He doesn't mind this little money. No, it's about the raise. The salary is already very high now. Mo Fei frowned and said. What is that? Su Weifeng asked puzzled. Boss, I shouldn't say such things, but Xiao Tu is a good girl. You can't hurt her. Mo Fei said to Su Weifeng seriously. There's nothing between me and Xiao Tu. Su Weifeng said puzzled. Nothing about living with Xiao Tu. Nothing about giving her a bracelet worth hundreds of millions. Nothing about buying her a BMW. The more Mo Fei said, the tighter his eyebrows frowned. Haha, that's what you said. Su Weifeng finally realized what was going on and why Mo Fei misunderstood. Mo Fei looked at Su Weifeng coldly and didn't say anything. I lived with Xiao Tu because she had no place to live. The hotel I stayed in was a suite and there was an empty room, so I let Xiao Tu live with me. I gave her the bracelet because she helped me a lot. We went to gamble on stones that day. I cut out the purple jade and gave it to her directly. I bought the car and Xiao Tu often needs to drive it. I'll let her practice more when she has nothing to do. Su Weifeng explained briefly. He didn't expect to cause Mo Fei to misunderstand. Let's not talk about anything else. The jade bracelet is worth at least hundreds of millions. The boss just gave it to Xiao Tu? Even if she helped you? With Mo Fei's personality, he would not care about whether he was the boss or not. He said bluntly, and distrust gradually appeared in his words. I'm not short of money. Money really has no appeal to me. Su Weifeng said casually. Chapter 875 Facing Your Heart. There are many people who dare to say that they are not short of money, but there are not many who dare to say that money is not attractive to them. Su Weifeng is one of them. Mo Fei looked at Su Weifeng's expression. He was not flustered at all, and he did not seem to be lying. Moreover, looking at Su Weifeng's attitude towards the bar, he was really casual. As long as it was open, he did not care about the profit or loss. She also knew that Su Weifeng's bar was several times higher than the market price. Putting all these things together, her boss did not seem to take money seriously. So it seems to make sense. And looking at Xiao Tu's usual appearance, the two of them did not seem to be in a relationship. When young lovers are just together, they are in a hot state. They can't pretend. If so, I really think too much. Mo Fei believed it this time. But boss, since you don't have any ideas, don't treat Xiao Tu like this. Girls will misunderstand. And I think Xiao Tu likes you. If you reject her, it will be a big blow to her. Mo Fei said seriously. Xiao Tu is still a child. How could she like me? Su Weifeng said indifferently. Xiao Tu has been on guard against him. How could she like him? Boss, you really don't understand girls. Mo Fei sighed and said. Seeing Mo Fei's look, Su Weifeng was also a little confused. Could it be that he really thought it was simple? Xiao Tu likes him. It shouldn't be possible. Su Weifeng was about to speak when he saw Xiao Tu coming back with a plate. She looked at Su Weifeng with a very unfriendly look, but she didn't say anything. She went to the bar to get something and left. With Mo Fei's reminder, thinking about Xia Bing's worries just now, he took it seriously and frowned. In this case, Xiao Tu seemed to be really jealous. Does she really like me? Su Weifeng muttered a little unnaturally. You can't pretend to like someone. Mo Fei said meaningfully. Su Weifeng sighed in his heart. He knew that he would only hurt the girl. He didn't know when she would leave. He couldn't make any promises to anyone and couldn't even take care of her for a lifetime. But why was the girl always involved? Thinking of this, Su Weifeng was a little helpless. He went back without waiting for the bar to close. When Xiao Tu returned to the bar again, Su Weifeng had already left. Sister Fifi, where is the boss? Xiao Tu looked around and asked in confusion. The boss has gone back. Mo Fei sighed. She saw that Xiao Tu really liked him, and she couldn't pretend. When Xiao Tu heard that she was going back, she stomped her feet in anger. She didn't explain to me, and didn't wait for me to get off work to go back together. Her mouth was puffed up. No wonder Mo Fei saw it at a glance. Mo Fei shook his head secretly and wanted to persuade Zhao to, but he didn't say it out loud. Girls in love are irrational. At night, Chu Zhao to returned to the hotel and saw that the boss's door was tightly closed. She was angry, but she didn't say anything. She changed her clothes, took a shower, and lay on the bed angrily. Why was I so angry? It didn't matter to me that the boss was with another girl. Yes, what did it have to do with me? It didn't matter to me who the pervert was with, but I felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to see him with others. Did I really like him? What should I do? He didn't say hello to me after coming back for so long. That's not right. Did he not come back? Where did he go? With that girl? Thinking of this, Chu Zhao2's eyes suddenly widened. She couldn't lie down anymore. She got up and walked towards the boss's bedroom. Chu Zhao2 gently turned the door knob and saw that the boss was lying on the bed. She felt relieved, as if a stone had fallen to the ground. She felt lucky that the thing she was worried about didn't happen. What's wrong with Zhao2? Su Weifeng was awakened by the sound of the door opening. He couldn't help but say when he saw that it was the sneaky Chu Zhao2. I had a nightmare and I dare not sleep. Chu Zhao2 was shocked when she saw that Su Weifeng found out, but fortunately she reacted quickly and said she didn't dare to say that she was afraid that you would go out to get a room with that girl, so she came to see if you were at home. It was just a dream. Don't be afraid. Go to sleep quickly. Su Weifeng comforted. I can't sleep. Can I come to sleep with you? Chu Zhao2 said subconsciously, and her face suddenly blushed after she realized what she said. What on earth did she say? Taking the initiative to sleep with the boss. Then come over. Su Weifeng said softly. He didn't think anything of it. It's not like Chu Zhao2 had never slept with him before. Chu Zhao2 was a little regretful at first, but seeing that the boss had agreed, she could only go back and bring a pillow and quilt. Lying beside Su Weifeng, Chu Zhao2 felt her heartbeat speed up. Seeing that the boss didn't move, she secretly turned around and looked at the boss and saw that the boss was looking at her. Why aren't you asleep yet, Zhao2? Are you still scared? Su Weifeng said softly. Well, I still can't sleep, Chu Zhao2 said. She really couldn't sleep, and her heartbeat was still speeding up. Don't worry, sleep, I'm here. Su Weifeng patted Chu Zhao2's back gently and comforted her gently. Chu Zhao2 felt warm in her heart, full of joy and security. She slowly closed her eyes, and a smile appeared at the corners of her mouth. The anger of tonight was swept away, and she felt very happy. At this moment, she didn't want to think about whether she liked the boss or not. She just felt very happy. Her body gradually relaxed, sleepiness came up, and she slowly fell asleep. Su Weifeng looked at Chu Zhao2's cute sleeping appearance and couldn't help scratching her little nose with his hand. Chu Zhao2 wrinkled her nose subconsciously, and Su Weifeng smiled unconsciously. Su Weifeng suddenly felt that this scene seemed to have been experienced before. Could it be the legendary sense of deja vu? That is, everyone has experienced this situation, a strange environment for the first time, or something that has never been experienced, but it has an impression in the memory, as if it has been experienced before. However, Su Weifeng knew that this was not a bluff like the past life or the present life. It was just that there were similarities with the past experience, so the sense of deja vu was produced. Suddenly, Su Weifeng thought of this scene. Wasn't it common when he was with Lin Zhuangsun? And Chu Zhao2's reaction was also like Lin Zhuangsun's. After thinking it through, it was confirmed that Chu Zhao2 really liked him. And he didn't seem to dislike Chu Zhao2, and he slowly liked her. Finally figured it out, Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile bitterly, wanting to hide but couldn't. He gently touched Chu Zhao2's cheek, and the scenes with Chu Zhao2 all appeared in front of him. Chu Zhao2 holding an electric baton to warn him. Chu Zhao2 standing with him with an electric baton in front of dozens of people in the university town bar. And Chu Zhao2 who was jealous when she saw him with another girl in the bar. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.